Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and welcome to the Page Doing Friday Conversation. And we are here today with a lot of friends from Before We Go blog, our extended family. So excited to be here with so many friends tonight. Thank you for coming by. Whitney, will you start us off with an introduction? Let us know about you and what you do.
Oh, geez, I knew you were going to start with me. So I,
Sorry.
I don't know, I never know what to say, and didn't plan it. I wrote notes for this,
Well,
and not a single one about me.
we can start with Beth if you want.
Oh,
Sure.
okay.
Pass.
Okay.
No,
Go
wait.
ahead, Beth.
All right. Hi. I'm Beth Tabler, and I own Before We Go blog, and
Yay.
I'm also the editor for Grimdark Magazine's issues. That's
All
me.
of their issues, or just the
All of
ones
them.
you put out?
All the issues are from
She's got all the issues gathered here today.
Sorry.
And Taylor, I guess we'll just go this way.
Sure. So hi, I'm Taylor. My booktube channel is May Between the Pages. I am a co-host of Page Doing along with PL and Steve, two of the many people on here. We'll get to them. So you'll see me on Friday Conversations quite often. I am also an assistant editor at Before We Go blog. I'm very happy to be.
Yes.
So I'm excited for this.
Nice. And Crystal?
Hi, my name is Crystal Matar. I wrote These Giant Bricks, Legacy of the Brightwash, and Legacy of Brick and Bone. I'm also part of the Before We Go team. And also I was rather suddenly added to the Vampire team, so I'm kind of polyamorous in my blog life right now, which both of them are amazing. So, and that's about it.
Awesome. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, and CT?
Hey, my name is CT Phipps. I'm an author of about 30 books, and I am a regular reviewer for Grimdark Magazine and Before We Go blog.
Yes.
Nice. And PL?
Hey, I'm PL Stewart, author of the John King Saga, and also an assistant editor with Before We Go blog. As Taylor is under our incredible leader, Beth Tabler. Happy she could be with the gang, and just amazing to see Whitney and Dan and GM and Crystal and Beth and CT and all of our wonderful Before We Go blog family on Friday.
And he's being modest. He launched a brand new book today.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, is he launching it or are we going to have to?
Yeah. Lauren King came out today.
There we go.
Congratulations.
Ready.
Book
Congratulations.
3. Thank you. Book 3, the John Kingdom Saga. So thank you. Formally on Amazon next week, but on Friesen Press, my indie press publisher today. So, yeah.
Is that book 3 of 3, or is there more?
3 of 7.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, yay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank
Right
you.
on.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Good stuff. And GM?
Yeah. Hi, I'm GM Nair. I'm the author of the Duckett and Dyer Dicks for Hire series.
I
And
should have worn my t-shirt.
I should have worn my shirt.
Oh yeah, you
Oh yeah, my shirt. I did the book.
I'm
Yay.
the author of the series, the maker of the t-shirts. I'm a contributor at Before We Go blog and a general nuisance.
Also, the second funniest person here after me.
Ah. Ooh.
Oh,
Those
this is a
are
challenge.
Shots fired.
Yes.
That's
Oh, yes.
Did you just
We have to
happen
get that
have
rivalry
today?
going and, force our sides into teams.
And Dan?
Hi, I'm Dan Fitzgerald. I'm fantasy and now mostly romance author. Also the leader of the Crystal Matar fan club. So crystalmatarfanclub.com. No, Crystal made me write smut, so now I write smut.
Go, Crystal. Go.
Blushing now.
And I also blog sometimes with Before We Go, and I'm thankful for Beth for bringing me into the fold.
Yes. And Whitney?
Dang it. So I'm Whitney, and I am editing my first book, Stupid Thing. And
Congratulations.
thanks. And I don't write fantasy. I love it, but I can't produce it. So I just turn it. I have fizzly sparks that go magic, and that's all that happens. So it's a historical fiction.
No,
For me.
And Beth was wonderful and allowed me to join the Before We Go team about a year ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I got lucky enough to be an SPFBO judge, and I have thoroughly enjoyed that. So I'm glad to be here with all of you.
Nice. So, what can you tell us about your book, Whitney?
It's a historical fiction set in 1966 Alabama,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
and it's loosely, for all my family and friends watching from there, that it's loosely based on people I know. Mhm.
Mm.
okay.
Some of them will be mad. Others will be pleased.
Love it.
Indeed.
Way to get a bunch of pre-orders from the
Good,
audience.
good.
Well,
I
time
mean,
period's certainly interesting. 1960s, late 60s Alabama. That's a pretty interesting
It's
time period.
it's a heavy time, and several of my betas have called out certain events, and they're like, "Are you sure this happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't doubt my research. I've done it. I mean, things like the Miranda rights. You know, when did Miranda become a requirement? Well, that was early 1966.
Yeah.
And it plays heavily into the time frame because the words the instigating event happens in July, and Miranda was codified in April. So
Oh, wow.
it
That
plays
sounds
heavily.
amazing.
Yeah, thanks. I hope you like it. I hope you read it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys read anything but fantasy and fun stuff.
Well, I was about to say, I wonder if you would really enjoy this book, Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. It's 1974 in Boston
Yeah.
during the forced busing crisis.
Yes.
So I wonder if there's similar themes. And I'm 100 pages in out of 300 pages, and it's dark and it's heavy, but man, it's so good and it's so confronting and painful. So yeah, you're what you just described sounds right up my alley.
Oh, good. Well, so mine is. I don't think it's particularly heavy. But
well,
my readers haven't come in as heavy, but
right.
One of the main characters is a very snarky grandmother, and
Love it.
she holds no bars and takes no prisoners.
Love it.
And so I've had a lot of fun with her. I've had a lot of fun with her, and the other is the other main character is her 19-year-old, very naive granddaughter. So it's been fun, and but you all know, all of you have written the agony of sitting there going, does a comma go there or not?
Yes.
So, and taking out all the stupid extra justs. I have an addiction to just.
My very last pass on Brick and Bone, I reduced the word count by 1,000 words, taking out just, and also like some of the filler words that happen around them.
Just and like.
Just like specifically, and then like little phrases that happen to try to justify having the word just in there. So I
want it.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel your pain.
Okay, well, I appreciate. I'm glad it's not just me.
When are we going to see? When can we expect to see it, Whitney? When do you think?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get it ready this fall. I don't know if you've noticed on my Twitter feed. I've been asking, for help, just ideas about self-publishing, and you guys all inspired me. I mean, I'm not going to lie. In the MFA program that I was in, it focuses on traditional publishing, and through the course of this, of meeting you guys and going through my MFA program, I was like, the self-published books are really better than what I'm finding in Barnes and Noble and Books A Million. What you guys are putting out is so different from traditional epic fantasy or traditional romantic fantasy. I'm like, I want to see the new and different. Like Dan's Weird Water Confluence and your Legacy of the Brightwash books and GM. My God, it's super weird. It's just
Can
so
we
good.
make
Really
GM
leaning
blush?
into that.
Listen, I thoroughly enjoyed Duckett and Dyer.
Thank
Cackled,
you.
woke my husband up several times while I was reading in the middle of the night. He's like, "What are you laughing at?" Never mind, hamburgers. Talking cows. Shut up. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Always with the hamburgers.
Oh, yes. Duckett and Dyer was great. I loved it, and I'm enjoying Brightwash now as well. There, definitely.
thank you.
I don't read traditional publishing anymore. There, I'm all indie all the time.
Well, your deer book really got me hooked on that on your series.
Oh yeah, it's actually the book of the month on our fantasy right now. There,
Oh
and
yay!
Ooh,
it's
nice.
hilarious the way
Congratulations.
that. Well, yeah, it's hilarious the way the fandom went down dividing there. There's people who absolutely love snarky, sarcastic pop culture references and the indie flow away from traditional publishing and urban fantasy, and then there's the people who absolutely hate it for every single one of those.
Believe me, don't I know it?
I gave it a 5-star. I love that book. That was great.
Thank you very much. There, I hope you'll check out the sequels.
Oh, I will. I have it all queued up. I have so much time right now.
Oh yes. Whenever an author
And so few
is
books
given
to
praise,
read.
they immediately say like, "Good, now read the next one."
Here are the next 5. Enjoy.
If the first book was so good, why aren't you reading books 3 through 8?
Simultaneously.
Oh yes.
I have much
The-
guilt.
Thank
The
you very
never-ending
much.
TBR. I'll never
Oh,
get
yes.
to it.
True.
I'll
Yes.
never get
Except
to
for
it.
Dan,
It's
he's
also
only got one book on his.
the obligation that if you ever get another author to read your books, you have to read theirs, and then it becomes entirely awkward if it's not your style.
That's a nonsense obligation in my mind.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
but
I
it's true.
can't
The
keep
two
up
is
with
this
that.
point there.
So
Yeah.
Taylor made a comment about the never-ending TBR. Can we just talk about Dan and his wait, that way. There he is. And his one book TBR that he mentioned the other day.
I mean, I don't really have TBRs. I have, books that I might read. But like recently I was like, I was in between books and I was like, I know I'm gonna read Brick and Bone when it comes out. So I like read whatever, short thing I could fit into the space in between the previous book and this one. And then now I'm reading this one. And then when it's over, well, we'll see. I have some ideas, but yeah, I'm very much a mood reader, and I also I'm forever seeking out the thing that doesn't quite exist. So I'm looking hard, and I keep getting closer and closer to finding it. I feel like I'm almost there, but not quite.
Maybe you'll have to write it.
Yeah, well, obviously, yes. No, but I keep thinking. So I'm seeing some things by there's someone named Mae Peterson. So I'm looking for like trans non-binary high fantasy romance, and there's not a lot out there. There's a few things, and there's like certain types of things that I don't like. I don't like it really dark, so anyway, so I'm looking at it. I mean, with notable exceptions in my romance. Anyway,
Okay.
So I've been so right now I'm reading Brick and Bone, and when I'm done with
Don't
that,
like it really dark.
Maybe something else will come up. No, I actually like a lot of dark books, but I don't like that.
I get what you mean when you're looking for romance specifically. There's a specific feeling that you're going for. So I get what you mean. I'm just.
And some people love dark romance. Like I'm all about that, but
Yeah.
I want my romance to be definitely lighter. And when I want to read a darker book, I want to read a darker book. That's just my own personal preference.
You don't want to be surprised.
Yes, I mean, I guess if I'm reading a darker book, I'm prepared to be surprised. I'm reading a romance, I want it to be a romance.
Fair.
I'm switching between romances and grimdark at the moment.
Perfect.
I don't know what's going on with my brain.
If it
It
makes
needs a
you feel
break.
better, I was 13% into Brick and Bone, and I love it, by the way. But I was like, I don't know if my heart's ready for this, so I took a break and I read Vampire Academy.
Oh God.
And I was like, now this is a good palate cleanser, and I'll get back to Brick and Bone when I'm ready to hurt.
Fluffy
Oh,
good
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of pain in that book. I think it's worse than the first one, and
Yeah.
I would be sorry, except I'm not.
Well,
can't.
but we know that we get to spice eventually. That's the other thing. Like in between the pain, there's going to be spice. So like that thought will carry me forward.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I definitely am switching between 80s high fantasy and Dragonlance and Forgotten Realm stuff and well, Brightwash. So it's kind of a hard kind of a contrast there. It's like, okay, yeah, wonderful dragon riding, some fun magical moonblades. Let's go see what's going on in this other part of my Kindle. Oh, the child washes onto the shore of the totalitarian dictatorship.
I'm the heart of darkness in everybody's TBR, and my idiot ass was 2 years ago was like, the book's not that dark, is it? It's not as dark as it was when I was drafting it. Jeez.
Yes,
Oh, man.
investigator. I gave my son up to the horrible authorities, and let's see. Look on this point. Was the child born at the prison? That's a possibility.
It used to be worse.
Oh my.
My apologies. Yeah.
No, it's funny. Like,
Is Game of Thrones grimdark? I never noticed.
I think the thing that threw me off was that Tasha was trying really hard. And when you think of, like, if you don't know a lot about grimdark at first, you think of like really amoral characters and nihilistic characters, and he's not that. And I think that threw me off. But also,
it's grimdark.
Yeah, I know. I know that now.
I'm sorry. No interruptions.
I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. In earlier drafts, a certain notable character died. And now she doesn't. So that means it's not that dark, right?
Of course. No. Like, Lady Stoneheart coming back.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me that Tashwe is like a paladin who's following the wrong god. Like he's a paladin who's just like, he's like totally there, but the god is evil.
Oh yes, it's a terrible, terrible state of, especially if you're prone to me of being like, Mage Nito and always on the side of the magic users. But it's a very believable kind of dark and gritty. There, weirdly enough, it kind of reminds me of Terry Gilliam's Brazil, which is the ultimate. Isn't it horrible to be in a totalitarian dictatorship? But even worse if it's just bureaucrats doing their job. Yeah. I mean, the evil's not even personal. It's just even worse because they're bad at it.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy in fantasy is fantastic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crystal does it like no other, though. It's just, but Crystal,
it's a fantastic book. Buy it. Okay, got my.
You have all the right elements of like darkness and hope and pleasure and like it's just it's rolled up really well. So, but it's funny. When I first read Brightwash, I thought, wow, this is dark and this is hitting me really, really hard. And then you start reading the Michael Fletchers and the Clayton Snyders and the Sarah Chones. You're like, wow, and Anna Smith's voice, like, okay, well, Crystal's is dark, but
basically.
There's some other dark.
We did get Sarah Chorn on here. Yeah, that's just like there's very few grimdark that is so upbeat and peppy and chipper about how absolutely horrible and nightmarish every one of their worlds is.
That's your next assignment, Crystal. Upbeat and chirpy.
We need to recruit them. Yes, totally.
Yeah. See, that's part of what threw me off the scent was because I was friends with Clayton, from the beginning of before I was really working that much, and so I was beta reading some of his stuff while I was working on my stuff. So, I don't know if anyone's read River of Thieves, but that book is hilariously dark. Yeah,
funny as hell.
Reading that, yeah, absolutely.
I only have I have two grimdark series there, but people say that they're not because I just cannot turn off my snark meter. So even in the absolute kind of horrible, I think Cthulhu Armageddon is the darkest because the world has been destroyed and it's like the Dark Tower meets Fallout and with giant Cthulhu monsters, and I'm like, yeah, the characters just can't stop wisecracking because that's just me there.
I think a good wisecrack balances out stories.
Yeah, though. I agree.
You can't have too much nihilism or it's not enjoyable to read. You got to have some little glimmer of hope or nugget
or
of
humor.
something.
Oh, yeah.
to hold
Otherwise,
us
I
to
feel like humor is
Otherwise, you're
actually
just
really.
reading Nietzsche.
Tell that to Cormac McCarthy.
No,
Oh, yeah.
refuse. I refuse to read his books.
Oh well,
Really?
I can't.
we're
That's fair.
It's funny, Beth, actually, because I actually own a CD that is entirely inspired by Cormac McCarthy's westerns called "The Last Pale Light in the West," and they used some of those songs for The Walking Dead. So you can tell.
I actually
Where there's
love
some crossover.
that Western series, that the one with that had Spanish and English mixed together. I forget what it was called. I really like that, but the road is too much for me.
Yeah, too much for my wife too. There, she said, "Oh, we rented that movie one time there, and I'm now forbidden from ever renting a movie for my wife again."
I saw the one with, God, Javier Bardem had a really bad haircut.
No Country for
No
Old Men.
Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a movie that destroyed me, like the quarter scene.
That was an awesome movie.
That was so good.
I'm like, okay,
That was an
I
awesome
can't
movie.
read his books.
Yeah, on my end, I just prefer my grimdark with more of the bronze sort of shade of things there. Basically, I'm going to go say with, it's a classic answer and probably one that's overused, but Joe Abercrombie, Rob J. Hayes, Mark Lawrence, those kind of people that's like, yeah, they're assholes, but they're so much fun at being assholes.
I'll be honest, I
was
never heard
reading
the
a
term
romance
grimdark
book.
till this group.
I was reading a
Oh, yes.
romance book like
That's
2
because we
days
just made it
ago,
up.
and
We're
they
just doing this
quoted
as an
Mark.
elaborate mind game on you.
Okay, great.
They were quoting
Good to
Mark
know.
in a romance book. Like at the beginning of a chapter, they quoted one of Mark's books.
Oh,
Like,
really?
okay.
But I mean, all those books might have an element of something, though, right? Like Mark Lawrence can write romance, is free to write,
Yeah.
and in elements in his book, just like I don't know. I just think to be a book feels really well rounded when you have all those aspects, right? Dark,
Oh, yeah.
light, romance. Like I love to read that in books.
Like people.
So, yeah, just like people. Yeah.
I'm going to say that, in fact, one element of indie publishing that is beneficial is the fact that authors are allowed to color outside the lines a lot more when they're in
Yes.
control of their own work than they ever are allowed when there are books there. Kim Harrison is also the author. It's okay, she's revealed this herself there, the author Dawn Cook. And she writes, young adult, girly books at one point. And she switched to doing an adult urban fantasy, and
I love
they
her
had
book.
made her change her name for that. And, now you can just do authors with in indie fiction. I want to write a space book. I want to write a fantasy book. Whatever I feel like inspired by, and they can, go well outside their quote unquote thing, and that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Speaking
love
of
her
like well-placed snark, going back just a little bit, we all saw, I don't know if we've all seen that the Spiffo winner was announced.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I know. Anybody who's watching, we will get the last score up. I swear. I promise. I'm just waiting for it to come in. Okay.
yes.
We don't matter
I mean, we're allowed to talk about it, right? Because Mark
Yeah.
released
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
right?
Mark.
Winner. Okay,
Congratulations,
so
Small Miracles.
the
I said
small
Olivia puts-
miracles. Woohoo!
Congratulations to Small Miracles.
Yes, it was a delightful book.
Definitely.
Yep.
It really was. Yeah,
Oh,
I
yes.
thoroughly enjoyed that. All of the little snarky points really hit for me in that book.
Yeah, me too.
Oh yes.
I think my only complaint with Small Miracles was because I read it on my Kindle, which meant footnotes were weird. But had I been,
yes.
flipping pages, I wouldn't have had any concern at all. So that was just a formatting for me thing. But otherwise, I giggled all the way through it, and I thought this is really well done. And I loved the gender fluidity of the characters. It was so well done.
Great book. Yeah.
I guess we can announce this too, that we're coming back. We've been asked to come back for a
Yay!
Yeah.
I have no idea how happy I am.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the actual reason that you withheld the score till the last minute. You wanted to make sure that
I'm
Yeah.
playing.
That's what she wanted.
Oh yes. And another kudos to Mark Lawrence in the terms of indie world there, being the big author that did take a moment to say, like, yes, this is an entirely growing industry, quote unquote, and these are the books that deserve a chance to be looked at. And I found some truly fantastic ones blow major publications all the way out. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyone have a favorite of the contest's books winners there? Name off the top of their head. or
Oh my God.
just a participant.
Or just this
So
year?
many.
So do you want final, like favorites from the final group from this year?
Let's just say if they were
ones that
entered
we've
into the
read?
contest, you can name it as a favorite of yours. We're giving shout
Okay.
outs.
So,
Oh dear, I've
Thrice.
thrown everyone.
No. I'm not gonna. Thrice was excellent.
Yes,
So
I would
much
second
fun.
Thrice by
Oh,
Andrew
yeah.
Meredith.
Yes, and I mean,
It
and
was
he-
small.
It was really good and debunked. It really breaks my heart that I cut it because it was really good and it was
Yeah.
really clever. And ultimately, it came down to the fact that it was more science fiction than fantasy. And normally, I wouldn't even mention something like that, except that it's called the self-published fantasy.
and there's a sci-fi contest.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
and
it's
Exactly.
also entered in the SPSFC too.
Yeah,
Is
he's
it?
a
Really?
Good.
he's a semi-finalist at least. Like he's
Fantastic.
doing okay as far as I'm aware, but I don't think they have their finalists yet this year.
No,
And
not
that's
yet.
a killer cover too.
Yeah, and he's so
Didn't he
fantastic
draw that?
too.
Didn't he draw that?
What?
No, he did. I don't think he did, but he built like a scale model of the
Yeah, that's
airship
what I'm thinking of.
Nice.
for conventions and stuff, and watching him do that has been so amazing. And I feel so happy watching him live his best life.
That's great.
And knowing that he's doing well, even though I cut him, like I'm forever gonna feel awful.
Crystal crushed him.
Our team.
I know. I'm
He
so
was
glad
so
he's
rough
doing
this year.
well in the. Yeah.
And I really loved Miss Percy's.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Oh,
It was so different and so sweet that I really loved it. But
we had so many wonderful books in our batch. Like
we got
Yeah.
lucky. We got really
Yeah.
lucky.
or unlucky.
Yeah, we
You
were.
know, I mean, we had
Oh, there's
cut
that.
really
The
great
others were.
books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long
like
Nights by Tom Huck was great. I love that, and of course,
Was it?
13th Hour. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think with the World Building Award goes to Trudy Skies for the 13th Hour.
Yeah.
Me here
Just so
filling up the
rich.
comments with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm torn between mentioning Where Loyalties Lie by Rob J. Hayes, which is Grimdark
yeah.
Pirate. Yes, and Orconomics.
Isn't that?
Because,
Orconomics.
Oh, we're going back now, so it's like free reign for all of the.
Oh, yes. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I should have made that more clear there. I was just, touting the entirety of the self-published fantasy blog offs, contributions to our own reading, so to speak.
Mahir's like giving us a ton of them. I agree. Never Die was amazing.
Oh,
Call
Legacy
me-
of
Spirits
the
of
Bright
Vengeance
Watch.
this
Oh,
year
my.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bridge, Red Ritz, Illborn, Daniel Jackson, the past, finalist.
Thomas
Tim
says
Hardy.
we break immortals. That was really, really good for me.
Oh, yes.
I like the big
No,
ones.
Oh,
Hall of Bones, Tim Hardy is a lot. Yeah. We
Wow.
Men After Shadow.
So good. Yeah.
Last year's runner-up was great.
Which was what runner-up from last year?
Crystal.
They all
Crystal.
kind of. Oh,
Crystal was running from last year.
The winner was pretty
Oh,
amazing
that
too.
shots fired.
oh, that one.
That one? That was great timing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I run the fan club, but I gotta.
Yeah. Yes. Now we need to go like in the sequel. Can you constantly go a little darker?
Yeah.
As long as you match any increase in darkness with increase in smut, like I'm gonna be okay with that.
I mean,
yeah.
Ishmael set the tone for us, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
What's the word?
I'm Dirk's unofficial leader of his fan club.
Oh, Paternus.
Oh, Dirk Ashley, yeah.
Yeah,
Another one.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Another one I gotta read.
love
Wow.
Paternus. Dirk
Have
is
to
great
read that.
too, as I said. He contributes.
He's wonderful.
Definitely one of those people who also is trying to
Yeah.
give back to the community that helped him. So yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta read his book.
I also loved every one of the Paternus books there. Read them each and
Yeah.
every one.
Fabulous.
We should shout out Baker Thief by Claudia Arsenault. I thought that
Yes.
was a really
Yes.
unique book, and PL wrote a great review of that. Just the world, the sort of
Thank
the queer normative world building and the interesting relationships, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that was an excellent book. Excellent book. Yeah.
Yeah, your reviews are like they're
Really,
So
good.
much.
it's
So
amazing.
good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
You're
always
like
think like, oh, this is a long one, and then like that I wrote, and then you release one. I'm like, never mind. I have work to do. Respect.
Thank you.
And you
Oh,
read
yeah.
so fast. Oh, so jealous.
That was actually something that I wanted to mention in the comments. I saw Drew had said that someone, Paramita, I think, had finished
Yeah,
The Veiled
she's a
Throne.
fast, yeah.
Is on page 845 of Speaking Bones,
She's
which
crazy.
Dandelion
Yeah.
Dynasty is one of my favorite series of all time. Not indie, but those are chonkers, and that
Yes,
blows my
they are.
mind. So I'm
Yeah,
curious
Paramito
for,
is yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
everyone here, like a lot of you are also authors in your own right, but we're all reviewers. So I'm curious, how do you guys balance reading speed with like, this is a book I want to read, or this is an arc that I got? How do you guys kind of balance those things? Because I find with a channel, it's something I'm constantly working on because I want to create content, but I don't want to rush through a book, and I want to write a good review if I'm going to release it on Before We Go. But if I'm not going to release it, I can write it quicker. So there's a lot that I'm trying to balance. So I'm just curious how you guys do that.
Oh yeah, I'm terrible at having a
You don't do
consistent.
it well. No.
I
Yeah,
just
I don't.
Yeah.
whatever inspires me in the
Anything.
moment there. I mean, my go ahead.
No, you were mid-sentence. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, my most popular articles that I ever did were my mini reviews of 10 recommended Dungeons and Dragons novels, and I think I've done like 4 of them. I got to tell you, that was just off the top of my head one day. I was like, what are 10 ones I would recommend there? And I wrote it in a course of an hour when I was supposed to be doing all sorts of Cthulhu and horror kind of theme books there. And, that worked out well for me. So you just got to go where the inspiration takes you, I think.
My Goodreads is currently at 2 finished books this year because I keep starting books and then getting distracted and then not finishing them. So I think I have about 12 that are currently reading right now. And then this book came out the same day as my book, and I've read 100 pages today. I'm probably going to finish it tomorrow. So I do not balance is my answer.
I have a stack of books by the bed, which I have right here, actually. Like,
Oh,
I'll
yes.
just keep by the bed. And so every time I look at them, they look at me in tone.
But this is why I do audiobooks, because that way I can try and guilt other reviewers saying like, well, I don't really have time to add any new books in physical form. It's like, good, it comes in audio. Why don't you send you one of those copies? I think I pulled that out of your death a couple of times.
I read, and I usually have my Kindle, a book, and I have an audio book going all the time. Pale Kings by Bengali right now. And Stephen Cree, the guy who narrated those, is so much fun to listen to. So yeah, I have 3 going at once. But then there's no balance. It's at all. I'm like, I probably won't review this. I mean, I could if you asked me to, but that requires work. I'm just going to enjoy it.
I'm
not a machine like CT over here with all of his reviews that he throws up. He's amazing.
Oh, no. Well, it helps that I just review whatever I've already read rather than try and set out a book to read and then review it there. It's
that's
the perfect
fair.
cheating.
It's the
You
perfect
kind of
cheat.
build up a backlog of things that you could write about.
I have
smart.
60 books I need to review. Like, my backlog is 60 books deep of books I need to review.
Yes, and I keep trying to throw more on your pile there. I'm terrible.
Those are just ones I need to know. Like, I've read them and I need to write a review. I have 5,000-ish books in my TBR on Goodreads. And then I have just stacks of books around me.
Yes, I made it a goal of like 3 years ago that I would eventually read all of my 250 to be read pile, and I think I'm down to 230 now.
Good deal.
Yeah, it's the case of like, okay, I finished that book. Oh, there's a sequel. Oh, new one there. And I'm now 30 books up.
Yeah, I think this argues for not having a TBR. You just have books. You know,
That's
you
that's
read them
what
or
I
you
do
don't.
at this point, and where I having books and reading books is two completely different hobbies.
Yeah.
I've bought probably a dozen books since I've moved here and had all these beautiful shelves to fill up, but I have read two or three. So it's just there's a curation hobby of beautiful books,
yes.
and then there's reading them one day. Although I'm hoping now I can make more time to read. I've decided that I'm not going to write on weekends anymore now that I've hit that deadline. I'm going to have some reading time. 2 books a year is not going to cut it for me anymore.
Not books that size.
Oh, I mean reading 2 books a year.
Oh, I see.
Last year I got all the way up to 8 books in
Oh, yeah.
1 year, and it's not enough. I missed reading while I was writing, so I need to balance it better.
Oh, yes. You know, I actually take the argument that Stephen King put in On Writing, that whenever you're trying to write a book, that would be actually when you should read the most. And, you know,
Yeah.
try and deluge yourself with your genre to keep your mind in the soaked in the stuff enough to pour out the ideas. It's not actually going to make you derivative, but it is going to keep you in that headspace.
It fills the creative well, I think. And my mistake was that I set deadlines that were really hard to meet, and so there just wasn't time or mental energy. But I'm not sustaining a career like that. I have to be able to read, or else why am I here? Why am I in this community? So yeah, definitely making more time to read this year.
That's pretty well now become my main hobby. Like I write, I read, you know, try and get some exercise in, whatever. But yeah, it's pretty well. It's become, I guess, an obsession somewhat, and I'm pretty regimented, so that allows me to read a lot of books, and then obviously hope to review them all. So if I get behind too, I think I'm about 5 or 6 reviews behind now, but I keep upping my TBR goals. So like this year I set 100 books on Goodreads. So we'll see. I'm probably gonna pass that, but
we look bad.
Right
after I finished 2 books a year.
I managed to hit my goal of 300 last year, but of course I was cheating by putting comic books.
That is cheating.
Absolutely, it's cheating, and it worked.
Yeah.
David from Fanfi reads like that. Like he's like, oh, 500 books. 500 books. What if you read 500 books?
I make the mistake of, I set a goal of like 125 books this year, and then back to back, I've got 17 that are the size of Brick and Bone. Oh goddamn! I'll never read all of that.
You gotta get like little books.
Right. Right.
Yes, that's how it works there. That might be a Where Dear one, actually.
Like this one.
Yeah.
That's gonna be. I'm gonna advertise my next book as that way.
Yeah.
It's only like 200 pages. It's gonna be
It works.
It's a snack.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah.
This is a novella by Carrie Dalby. She writes Southern Gothic, and she's fantastic.
Oh yes.
I got the coolest cover today in the mail. The Dead Take the Train. Have you guys seen this?
Ooh, that's
Oh wow,
That's pretty.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's Cassandra Caw. I think it's how you pronounce it.
I know her writing. Yeah, I've read several of her novellas.
She does horror, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And then,
well,
She did a couple of Cthulhu books I read.
Yeah.
I'm real excited about that matchup.
Well, I want to go back to the question about how we manage our reading. So I'm very regimented like PL, but I don't read nearly as much. I read it like every night before bed for like 20 or 30 minutes. And I usually set a goal of like 5% of an ebook. Or if it is like a book by Crystal Matar, I try to get like 2 or 3%. If I get 2%, like I'm lucky. And then I try to get time, like at other points in the day, I consider to be bonus reading time. So if I can like read 1% or 2 or 3 at some point during the day, if a life allows it, that's great. And I also have a couple paperbacks kicking around that I'll sometimes pick up just at odd times. But like I've got American Hippo that I'll read every now and then. Yes, books. But I also I rotate between romance and like books that are only romantic, but not necessarily romances specifically. So kind of rotate back and forth. But every other book has to be a romance because it helps me reset my brain. And also like the world kind of sucks. And so I want some of my books to be happy places, and other kinds of books don't have to be happy places. But I still like romantic stories in almost every book I read.
I do not. That's your OSM. What was your rating system? OSM?
Yeah, objective smut metric. No, objective smut metric.
Oh yes.
So I think it would be a rating would be very useful because people like you who don't like smut could look at a book and like the objective smut metric is like 0 or like 1. You could be like, okay, I can handle that. But if it's like 6.2, you're like, no, I think I'm gonna tag out on that one.
That reminds me of like my all-time favorite review for Before We Go blog, because the opening line there is, which was a review of a book by Sarah Hawk, who writes very much smut, but smut with plot, and it was the joke of like, I think Carol's opening is like, "Hey Charles, what are you reading?" And I said, "Star Trek porn," and she said, "Fine, don't tell me."
Yeah, but no, really.
I see a commenter asking for a recommendation for a well-written romance. So, if fantasy romance, you can't go wrong with Carissa Broadbent, which you may very well already know,
Or J.D. Evans.
Or J.D. Evans. Although I think it's some people might say it's a little more along the romantic fantasy. It's really on the edge for me.
It's
I've only read the one book, so
yeah.
Anyway, that's the first one that jumps to mind, and I'll be thinking on some more.
So I have a question for this commenter because I've never heard this phrase before. This Helena also asked, has anyone broken the sub-vocalization habit? I have no idea what that is. Is that talking back to the book?
Not.
Good idea.
Absolutely have not. So sub-vocalization is where you talk in your head as you read.
Okay.
So for speed reading, if you can stop sub-vocalizing in your head, you can read a lot faster.
Okay. I didn't know what that was.
That. So
I thought it was talking back to the book because I was like, I do that.
Yeah, me too.
What the hell? Yeah, no. Okay. Now I'm tracking.
Yeah.
Does anybody else repeat lines that you really like out loud? Like
yes.
Yes.
Oh, is that not how you're supposed to do it?
Well, it's good to know. Apparently, that is how you're supposed to.
So for the other authors, do you talk to your screens when you're typing and you're like, so when someone says, I went back and paid for that, do you try to figure out how to make it sound like that on the page?
Sometimes I repeat lines that I particularly like there as while I'm typing away there, and my wife looks at me like, "What the hell did you say?"
Okay.
Yeah.
Circling back to Helena, Fortune's Fool by Angela Boord, Boord, and A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows would be two more that I would highly recommend. I could say many more,
Is
but
the one that you rec to me count as romance? What's it called? Sister Song? Is it romance?
No,
or is it just no? Okay.
I mean, it has some romance in it, but no, it's.
But it's not capital R.
Definitely not.
Yes, all the romances I recommend are the romances end horribly, and that's why I like them. I was like, "What's your all-time favorite romance?" Oh, Raceland and Chrysania and Dragonlance.
I think that makes it a tragedy.
Yeah.
No. It's romantic that they. Oh, now I'm gonna just get into spoilers there.
It's romantic.
It's the train wreck. You love it.
I love that. What did we feed GM before the show? I was thinking the same thing.
What are you drinking, GM?
Sorry?
There's a comment referencing just how quiet you're being.
Oh, yeah.
Strange
I don't
it
know.
is.
I'm just halfway through a glass of whiskey, and I'm just really enjoying the talk.
What kind of whiskey?
It is Suntory. It's Hibiki. It's Japanese.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's delicious.
That's really
great.
good whiskey.
That is delicious.
Depends.
Really
It depends.
easy
They
to-
have a rail version. Beware.
Oh, they have a bar ale?
Oh yes, they do, and it is
Oh, boy.
it is not. Don't sip it on the rocks. The nicer stuff is definitely good, but
That's fair.
For me, I'm just drinking the coffee out of the little Dracula mug.
Oh, so cute.
It's true.
That is cute.
But if you
Fun
want to
drink of
talk more,
coffee.
I can talk more. But
Nectar of the gods.
I didn't want to talk over anyone.
I
Well,
didn't
now
know
we all
you
have to
liked
be quiet
whiskey,
and
though,
let-
GM. We'll have to add you to the Whiskey and Books group. Giant
Yeah.
chaos.
And maybe
But-
he'll talk more.
Maybe I will, but I'm actually not that big a whiskey drinker, but I do enjoy it. Oh, once in a while. I'm more of a gin and tonic person.
Oh, somebody else who likes gin. I love
Oh,
gin.
what's well, you know what? I wonder if I can get it. I don't know if you can see it, this blue bottle.
If you can't hand it to me, then not.
My husband found this. It's a dry Mediterranean gin, and the
Ooh.
name of it is Our Name.
Huh.
Nice.
That is currently the house favorite gin.
I don't have my own gin brand, so you
You're
win.
slacking.
I just want to say my condolences, Drew. Whiskey and Books is a riot whenever we do it.
It's a lot of
Oh,
nonsense.
was that
It's
the
a lot of
one with Brian?
nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of nonsense.
Yep.
He was badly
were-
behaved, and that's why we love him.
Yeah. It
We
was
were in
fun.
a liquor store earlier, and there was a guy there selling locally distilled, spirits, and talking about the complex barrel aging process where they use 3 different kinds of barrels. And it was
Ooh.
very talking about with the locally sourced grains. It's a fun time to be alive in America in some ways.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, we bought some.
I don't really care about any of that, but will it get me drunk?
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. Load it up.
Great.
I don't really
So,
drink
yeah.
all that much, but Nevada is a pro pot state, so I
Oh, okay.
have quite a bit of
Jealous.
pot in the house often. But
Uh,
yeah, I don't tend to drink that much.
Does it smell like pot in the city, in the state, Beth? Because
You
it's
know
legal
what?
here, and everywhere you go, it's like pot. Everywhere you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Same,
It
hard
comes
same.
If it's shitty pot.
oh, there's a funny, humiliating story about me if anyone wants to hear it.
I think we
Always.
do.
Okay.
Oh yes, well I am a teeter-totter kind of straight edge kind of person there. Unfortunately, family issues there, but on my end, my wife very much is not there and is a pot connoisseur and has invited my niece to join her in preparing all these wonderful little pot dishes there. And one day I asked them to make me some cookies there, and there was this big plate of them, and I was like, "Oh, they finally made me some cookies there." So I ate 4. And then I was under, so I was underneath a blanket for about 5 hours, contemplating the universe's infinity that was scary outside.
I have a
I have-
very, very similar story.
I have a very, very similar story.
I think we all have a very similar
Yeah,
story.
I
I've
got
been to
lost.
Amsterdam, so
I got
yeah.
lost in the kitchen. I got lost in my kitchen. I couldn't get out of my kitchen. I had
Oh,
I had-
no.
3 cookies
Ugh.
because 1 cookie's good, 2 is great, right?
All right.
And then
Oh, no.
I had 1. And
Crystal,
then I
because
got-
you left and came back, everybody's in a different place, and it's really like it's fucking with me.
Oh,
You're welcome.
well, I'm still in the
This
same
is
place.
what I do.
How
I
dare.
seed
We're off
chaos
books. We're just
wherever I
discussing
go.
pot now.
As you do.
So actually, Thomas, Riley, and we were talking about we need to have more. Or how many fantasy books are there that have psychoactive drugs in them? Can anyone
Probably
name
quite a
any?
few.
Oh yeah, we have hashish in Brick and Bone. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
So there's
not
If,
only
Nevermore.
if hashish counts, then Gunmetal Gods
Gunmetal
does
Gods.
that.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was saying, and Nevermore in the Emaneska series by Bengali. It's not hashish, but it's same.
Can't think of much.
I think
else. It's always like beer that tastes like piss, or like that kind of. It's not really like it.
I can't remember what makes the cut, but I think Ishmael also waxes lyrical about opium.
Yeah, there's some mention at least in the first. And I know that
Yeah.
Riley has some. Riley has some hidden his. He has magical drug dealers and stuff.
Yeah. Thomas, read Rick Immortals. Yeah, he's got.
Well, and Fletcher has a whole series where the magic system is based on hallucinations. Is that
mental? That's more mental illness, but yeah. You talk about the manifest delusions, Crystal?
Maybe not. Maybe it's a different
Beyond
series.
Redemption.
Michael R. Fletcher had the whole idea that magic was capable in his world, but in this one, you had to be absolutely completely off your gourd to do it. So you either were doing substances or you were just.
Yeah.
Is that in Manifest Delusion, or is that a different series? Is that
Beyond Redemption was the one I read there? So
yeah, that was more about mental illness, and like everybody had a different. Their magic power was a different mental.
I think it devolves into drugs through the series. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this with him, where that or maybe it's the sci-fi series.
You might be right. I haven't read book 2. You might be right. I haven't read book 2. I've only read book 1, so you might be right.
Yeah.
I'll take it. We'll pretend I'm right.
Our chat's now full of people discussing about whether this should become bongs and books. But actually, yeah, I definitely think in that case you should definitely make it an audiobook listener field.
That makes it a lot easier.
How to make that chat idea work there.
I think Adrian Selby's books have a lot of drugs, like the herbs. You get powers off of them.
Yeah. What about like Sanderson's Mistborn series and the imbibing of different metals as a?
I actually looked at the Sanderson shelf. I was like, does that count? I mean, it's changing.
It's imbibing, right? And
but I mean, are you taking it to get pleasure, or is it just taking something to get magic?
You wouldn't.
If you're taking it to get pleasure, then that counts as a drug to me. But if otherwise, it's like a potion. A potion is not drugs. Okay. It's just a potion, right?
I know Anthony Ryan.
Unless you get addicted to it. So, like, I have a character in an upcoming book who takes like a meditation tincture that like enhances mental powers, but eventually she discovers that she becomes addicted to it. So it does partly because it gives her pleasure, but also like there's a physical addiction. So like I don't know if that counts as a drug or not. But
well, that reminds me a lot of Jade City, so I would say that counts. I would say that Jade City, the Jade in the Greenbone saga is very much has an addictive property to it. I just saw Drew commented that.
Anthony Ryan did Draconis Memoria. And in those books, the magic system is based on the consumption of dragon blood. And so blood from different kinds of dragons gave you different kinds of powers, which was super cool. And he said he used to have a plot line where there was people who were addicted to it, but it made the plot too complicated, so he cut it out. And I mourn for that plot line. I feel like it could have been really amazing. But so we're into the realm of, theoretical now that doesn't technically exist in the book world, but that's what it made me think of.
But it could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have. One day.
Powder Mage. That's a good series. The Powder Mage series. Who wrote that?
Is that Stephen Arion?
No. Drew,
it's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. Who wrote that? Oh my God. Anthony Ryan?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
If it was Anthony Ryan, I'd know.
We're such good bloggers, guys.
Also, why is none of us
Brian McClellan? I Google it.
Yes, Brian McClellan.
Okay. There we go.
He also self-published recently, too. Oh. There's a shift coming from traditional authors.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like, if you have a huge platform, why would you not just be like, I think I'm self-publishing now because I already have the audience and I don't need. I mean, I guess you have the distribution.
Oh yeah,
you still have the distribution problem, but I don't know.
There's an interesting question about.
It would be worth doing both.
I was going to say there's an interesting divide in the indie world between those of who medium and small presses there and versus pure self-publishing. And, which are the advantages of both there? I've never been in the self-published fantasy blog out there because all of my books are published by Crossroad Press, which is a medium publisher. They used to do the Stargate SG1 books and the World of Darkness ones. They still do. And, that's great and all that. But I really rely on them, and they're much closer to indie than traditional publishing there. But I know Rob J. Hayes would never ever touch another publisher as long as he lives there, and he just pumps them out regularly and has his entire system. What do you think is?
Did Rob start with a big publisher? I didn't know that.
He started. We have an interesting story about how we both were with a small publisher called Ragnarok Publications.
Okay.
Yeah, and we became good friends with that and several other really good authors there. And there were some stories there that I'm not sure I'm legally allowed to share anymore. But definitely some shenanigans got there, and would have definitely turned Rob off entrusting his books publishing to anyone else.
He's doing great though. So
yeah,
Rob's books are so good.
Yeah, there's people who I don't think they like. What does Will White need a traditional publisher for now?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Sanderson certainly doesn't need one anymore. Like I think you get to a point where you're selling well enough and you have enough exposure that I don't know.
Carissa Broadbent made it to the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. She was
as an indie.
Her book was out for less than a week, and it was number 3 on the bestsellers list.
So let me ask you this: would her books just like on Ingram bookstores would order them? I'm wondering how the distribution works, because that's the one piece that you would lose normally.
Yeah, so she distributes through Ingram, so she has to grind a little harder to get bookstores to sell them, but mostly people are ordering them from indie bookstores, I think. But mostly she made the list because she was number 1 on the Amazon store for a couple of days.
Oh man,
she's
absolutely crushing. She had the top 5
amazing.
books. She had the top 5 books in Sword and Sorcery on Amazon, and like all top 5 books were hers. The other day I took a screenshot. And she's indie. I mean, think about that. Think about what Sword and Sorcery used to be, and now fantasy romance has the top 5 spots. Like, holy cow!
And one of the books just launched yesterday, and the other one launched the week before.
Yeah, indie. One area that I do point out is I actually did technically once got on a bestsellers list that wasn't a actual fake bestseller list. We all know what those are. But I got on humor in Amazon's top, I think 3rd. I think I may have actually hit 1 there, and it was and what got me selling so much more than anything was the audiobook release of my Rules of Supervillain book, which has I think almost 5,000 ratings on Audible there, and that tops plenty of actual real quote traditionally published books there. And that was just because Amazon had chosen it.
Yes, true.
Yes, and puts it up on all their like $5 sales and benefit me. And that's completely out of the hands of my publisher or me. But you just sometimes luck out on that there. And I think audiobooks are a crap shot, whether they'll be extremely good use of your money or extremely good waste of them there. But definitely they benefited me on at least some of my works.
Yeah, I think a lot of traditionally published authors would love to have like Ryan Cahill's numbers, for example, right? Like, in terms of sales, in terms of reviews, in terms of there's some indie authors out there that they're just blowing up. Zamil Akhtar, like a lot of indie authors are, and a lot of them, you don't hear about them a lot on social media, but they're selling like crazy, like A. Rain, and there's a bunch that they sell a lot of books, but
like D.L. Stewart, that guy.
No.
Well, I'm just
never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, you can go. We have all the books that we hear about there, and then you can go look on Amazon. There's Expeditionary Force, which has like 11,000 reviews, and you're just like, that guy just published his own book there. He made it funny, and it somehow reached the audience that it did, and good for him.
I made it to 75 on cyber science fiction, cyberpunk for the last magazine for some reason. I was like, oh look!
Congrats.
I think that reason being awesomeness. Awesomeness is the reason.
It could be.
Yes, I love cyberpunk there, and I've turned in so many cyberpunk listings, recommendations, reviews, and so on for Before We Go blog. It's got its own category there that's like all of my listing down there, and it's such a shame there that aside from the very few numbers there, that is a genre that is either very dead or someone is mislabeled it cyberpunk.
I was just happy to be like on the Amazon,
Oh, yes.
top 100.
Oh, I'm glad that it is
I'm not
there.
an author, so I was
So
just
well
Any
deserved.
of your,
So well deserved, man.
you're an author. You qualify
Yeah.
there. If you've written
So
something,
well
you're an
deserved,
author. You may not be a widely read author, but you're an author. That's my view on the subject.
Beth, you're an influencer. That's what you
Yes.
are. You are
Yeah, you are one of those
Yes,
as well.
influencer.
big time.
Beth is a big
Big time.
influencer.
Big influencer.
Famous fantasy reviewist.
Yeah. How many
We'll take it.
blog views did you get last year, Beth?
How many what?
Blog
How many-
views did we get last year?
Last year, close
Yeah.
to 300,000,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
400,000,
Just-
something like that.
I'm just saying, you're killing it.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we go, we've kind of slowed down a little bit, but we were doing like 45,000 hits a month, which is crazy time. Like crazy time. I'm so proud of our team. Like it's amazing. People are coming to the site and connecting.
Collaborative effort, right? So
Huh?
collaborative effort with everyone
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, great team. And the people that are
With a
here,
great boss.
so many, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Who couldn't fit on the screen? I just wanted to comment about Drew's comment. It drives me crazy when people in the Lord of the Rings fandom are like, "It's not pot. It's
not.
it's
It's
tobacco."
absolutely
And
not.
I get that. But if you watch the adaptations, like, come on, guys, you can't get mad at people thinking that it was pot.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
we're on
the
the phone.
finest weed
Has
in the
his
South
pipe
Far
in
thing.
his staff.
Oh, hype weed, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yes.
like
It's in the
I
name.
really don't. Aside from America, I don't think anyone would actually care otherwise in the country about the difference.
Correct.
Yeah,
I'd say it's fun to think of it as pot. How about that? It's fun.
Yeah.
it's like
100%.
well,
There we
there's a very
Second
fascinating
grade.
book that I read when I was like a teenager, which pointed out the fact that George Washington grew lots and lots of hemp there. Is like and the defense is like that was for rope, and then they point out the fact that the process he
Sure,
making was
for
explicitly
rope.
to make marijuana. Smoke, yeah.
Oh, you made the rope wrong. We're just gonna have to burn it all.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Got really close.
I was people
into
sitting there
the
huffing.
This conversation has come full circle, hasn't it?
Yes,
Have you
it's like,
That was
well,
that was my bad. I brought it back. Apologies.
Yes, pot and books there. As I said, the pot part will outnumber the books significantly there.
Have you seen the YouTube video of the news reporter who's standing in front of a giant pile of opium that's burning? Like the cops were burning the opium.
That's a great.
And he stood
Wait.
downwind from it.
Oh
Oh no.
And he's like live, and he just like hee
no!
hee.
You can see them.
Oh,
Oh,
but getting back to,
I bet he had a good night's sleep though.
oh yes, getting slightly
That's
off
memorable.
of the subject there, and as much as I hate to do that there, but since we're all big fans of Before We Go and we love it, what would you like to see added to Before We Go to make it an even better site for catering to all our fans' fantasy needs?
One of the things that I would love to see is a better connection for reviewers to publicists, because like I'm not really good at that, juggling and organizing and stuff, connecting to publicists. I try, but I'm not really good at that, and I would love to bring that to the next level. I would love to get everybody the books that they want to read and they want to review beforehand. That's definitely something I want to get going at some point. And I want us to get a Before We Go YouTube channel. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that'd be great. And,
Definitely.
yeah, maybe some more reviewers.
I see a comment from JCM Byrne. More reviews of superhero and space opera stories.
Sure.
I wonder why he says that.
I can't imagine who would be possibly reviewed on that respect.
He couldn't possibly have any motivation to specify.
I love space opera. Love space opera. So
Oh, this is a good.
I love space
Oh,
opera.
yes.
Oh, I'm going to read one this summer. I'm very excited. I'll go get it so I can show you.
Oh yeah. I love.
Oh, he disappeared.
I love
That's
space
fun.
opera as well. There, and I love.
So when I
I've
do
got
have a
many
TBR.
authors I want to put on my TBR list there, and once they want to get out there. And it's a fantastic genre to break into if you can do it. Definitely, it's got a big fandom on indie sites there, especially in Amazon.
That
Have you
looks
all heard
cool.
of this? Stellar
Yeah.
Instinct
Oh,
by
Jonathan,
Jonathan
yeah.
DeVere.
That's a
Anyway.
great cover.
I bought it partly just for the cover, to be honest. But I read when I go on vacation. I tend to read physical books, especially since I tend to be like I'll sit on the dock in Vermont and just chill with a book, or on the screen porch in Vermont. And sometimes there's glare, and I don't know. It just feels nice on vacation. But
Mhm.
at night, I like to read in dark mode while my wife sleeps,
Hmm.
so I don't have a light on to disturb her. Anyway, but enough about me.
I play Slay the Spire at night a lot when my husband sleeps because I'm an insomniac, and I listen to audiobooks while I play Slay the Spire. You know, I've got like 10,000 hours on Slay the Spire.
Serious multitasking.
Huh?
Serious multitasking there.
Yeah. Well, Slay the Spire doesn't take a whole lot of concentration. It's just sort of mindless moving cards around.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or I shop for books.
Same.
The
I
best
have a
hobby.
thing. I have a thing for sprayed edges. Like,
Oh,
give me a sprayed edge. And so I have all of the sprayed edges now. Just so many sprayed edges.
I still need to
I-
make good on my sprayed edge promise of doing it
Take my
terribly.
money. What are you going to spray your edges? Do you have a
Hamburger.
plan?
A hamburger.
Hamburger?
A hamburger.
I'm gonna do it badly so that the book doesn't even open because I have no idea how to actually do it. And then it'll be a limited edition, and then you'll get a second edition that you can probably actually read.
I swear, if he doesn't do a hamburger, I'm going to learn how to do it. Just make a little hamburger like dancing across the edge on principle.
Oh, hamburger. Never
Did
gonna
you
live
think when you wrote that scene that it would have the far-reaching effect?
No. That whole thing was like, it was an exercise on my part. I was like,
Were you high?
what's the stupidest joke, the lamest joke I can think of, and how can I make it somewhat palatable? And I was like, okay,
Literal hamburgers.
a hamburger that
Everybody
eats
loves.
people.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those definite best jokes definitely in the first book. I got to tell you, I love that book there. I haven't talked enough about Duckett and Dyer there. It oddly reminds me enough of John Dies at the End, which is another gonzo sci-fi
I love that
book.
series.
Super
Yes.
weird, yeah.
Yes, the weird for its own sake there, and I love those two together. And I remember when you did the April Fool's prank of putting up the upcoming series version, and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
no, it's not real.
Oh yeah.
I got to interview David Wong last year, and that was a huge thing for me because I absolutely love John Dies at the End and Zoe, his Zoe series.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty exciting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was
But
pretty cool.
yeah, just to do some more advertising for one of our number here. As I said, it's about two friends who become private detectives, except not really.
Oh, you're talking about my book. Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
we love you.
Now we can get you talking, huh? I see. There.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh yes.
No, please
it's
go
great.
ahead.
The
I want to
entire
hear
series
it.
is just great
Go
there.
ahead.
It's hard to describe actually the plot in any way, shape, or form there. Weirdness involving multiple realities and detective work, and just the odd couple of the very straight-laced one and the very wild and crazy one. It's a formula that works wonderfully.
You didn't mention the hamburgers.
I just
This time.
that's a nightmarish thing that I've tried to blot out from my memory there, scaring me far more than any of the others.
I love that you put
Nightmares of being chased by hamburgers trying to eat me. Yes,
Good
you
Lord.
permanently printed that on my brain, my friend.
Isn't that every author's dream?
Cthulhu has never has never reached that kind of Lovecraftian height, my friend.
That's fair.
So I I actually used GM's Duckett and Dyer's series in a paper in graduate school, and someone literally told me, they said their comment, because we did a peer review thing, and someone actually said, "So I don't like that you called it Dicks for Hire. That's really bad." And my response was, "That's literally the name of the book."
How could you possibly
And it's
use
not.
this in an academic paper of any sort?
Yeah, we
I
need to know the
forget
context.
how I have to go back and find the paper. No. It was talking. We were discussing traditional versus self-publishing, and I was like, let me tell you about some of the excellent stuff that's out there right now. Some of the most unique and things I never thought I would read. Here's an example.
Dicks for Hire.
But I don't like Dicks for Hire. You should change the name.
No,
It's not my book.
not.
Apologize to her for me, but
Absolutely not.
it's not
Absolutely
changing.
not.
It's not going anywhere.
No.
No.
I was like, take your prudish self right off of my
on
page.
your behalf.
I was like, take your prudish self right off of my peer review page. Thanks.
I love the
I'm-
accent too.
Huh?
I don't like the saying dicks. I don't like it.
Just Dicks for Hire. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, dicks should be given freely.
Yeah, dick for you, dick for you, dick for you. There we go.
You gotta make money somehow.
That's the next installment in the series, GM.
Dicks for everybody.
Dicks for free. Dicks for free.
Money for nothing and your dicks for
my God.
free.
Handing them out.
That
Oh my
gift
God.
with the hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yes. GM, that's your next promo item. Little like stress ball dicks. Just
The hot dog gif.
Oh,
So we've established we all love Duckett and Dyer.
Distributor, manufacturer. All
You're
right.
the winner.
Flying hot dogs.
No competition.
Guys, you really got Steve. I haven't seen him laugh like that in a minute.
Welcome to Snazzy Moose. You have in fact joined a great time.
Sorry, Steve. Here goes your monetization.
Welcome.
But
Yeah, I think it was gone a while
Read it.
ago. But
Wait, what are we talking about?
I don't even know anymore.
Flying hot dogs.
We're talking
We're
about
all just
your
huge
paper,
super
your
fans,
academic
yes.
paper.
No. We were talking. We were talking about.
We're talking about whether or not Dick should be a free resource or subsidized in some way.
Dick socialism.
Dickalism.
free dick. Yeah. Yeah.
Dickalism.
This
Redistribute
is
the
what
wealth.
the academic paper is about.
Yeah.
Unlimited dip jokes here, guys. Unlimited.
Oh wow.
We were so well behaved for so
Yeah,
long.
that took a turn. That just took a
Okay,
turn, and it was
let's-
this is-
Whiskey, so
no.
now
Let's ostensibly try to return to what our actual discussion
This
is
is our
to be about.
chat, by the way. Like this
Okay.
is our running chat every day. This kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Easy question. Let's see. Which do you prefer to review more on before we go? Indie or traditional?
What'd you say?
Let's go with an actual question. Just to pretend this is actually professional. Yeah. Which do you prefer to review on before we go there? Read or review? Do you indie or professional? Which is more important to you?
Indy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's
I think
a more
a bit of a mix.
a bigger effect.
Thanks, hot
Oh, yeah.
takes.
More
So
helpful.
I'll be honest with you. So for me, I mean, not only do I think that the indie market just offers so much variety, but let's face it, traditional people do have a PR marketing team. Even if that's just someone designates one person to do it, that's still one person that the author is not having to do their job. And
Yeah,
I feel like it's my job to help push those indie people and really take some of the pressure off of them, y'all.
Yeah, I look at the books as the same. An indie book, a traditional book, they're all the same. However, I think when it comes to exposure, obviously, yeah, indies need a bit more for the most part, I would say, unless you're someone like you're in the Will White category, etc. Yeah, you know that helping hand just means a lot, right? So, you know, if like I was saying, like if you write a
I don't know what they're doing, PL. I'm listening.
Was the helping hand thing? Was that what it was?
Connor,
I'm not going to get Connor here.
Connor entered the chat in all caps.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So as I was saying, yeah, I think I think if you know, there's a gazillion reviews on name your big traditionally published book. You know, Brandon Sanderson, you know, books. They have a lot of reviews. They're all over the place. You know, but an indie book, that could be the difference between making or breaking their career, potentially, if someone like Before I Go Blog, which is a popular blog site, puts up a review of this book and suddenly people discover it, and it can be a big deal. So
yeah, I know. I have to say that bloggers and reviewers have handed me my career. I can't even imagine trying to do it without the support. I feel like if whether I'm reviewing indie or a big publisher, the tone is a little bit different. Like I feel like Connor and I did a joint review on a very large trade author recently for Fanfi Addict, and so that was more like an essay, kind of more freeform, I think, because it's like Dennis Lahaney is not going to see my review, so whatever we say, it's between us and the community. Whereas when I'm thinking about what I want to say about indie books, I know the author is likely gonna watch or see it, and so there's more of an awareness of the weight of responsibility. And that's not to say that indie authors should be removed from bad reviews. That's somebody else's job. It's not mine. I don't feel like it is. And maybe it's because I'm an author, so I feel like even though it didn't work for me, it's not my place to discuss it because it's going to work for somebody else.
I have a policy that maybe people in the review world would think is unfair, but simple put, if it's not a 4 or 5 star review, I just don't publish it. I have that view. let anonymity be their judgment, so to speak. There, I'll talk about the books I love, or like at the very least. There, I don't need to take my time trashing someone else down there.
Exactly. I've never yet come across a book that is so offensive to me that I need to talk about it. And so if it's not working for me, it's not my place. I can't tell somebody else how to write their story. And if it didn't work for me, that's me. That's not it's not their burden. And so, some bloggers have a totally different attitude about it. I know I've watched some of Taylor's rant reviews and laughed deliciously. But I don't know. I can't. Life's too short for me to finish books that I'm not going to give 4 stars or more to, especially since I'm reading them at a rate of a single digit a year. But also there's like a shared pain of man, I can't do this to somebody else. I can't. But so having published something changes how I see books that even if I don't like them, I can still say you put your heart on this page and I respect it, and I'm just gonna leave it to somebody else.
Yeah, I try to do the same thing. I try to be as objective as you can be in reviewing an art, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely am honest there. But if an author gives me a copy of their book there, I give my private thoughts there, and I said like I'll share
Right.
them if you want me to there. And
Yeah.
I admit I've actually benefited from some bad reviews in the past actually, because there's no such thing as good
Yeah.
publicity as long as you're not saying, as long as it's professional. As I said, if someone absolutely hates my book, I will share the hell out of it, because that can
I
actually
mean-
be its own advertising.
Yeah, every time somebody says there's too much smut in this book, I always get a little sales bump. So like,
Oh yes.
Right.
What?
Oh yes, I actually save all of my 1-star reviews that say like
yeah,
this is nothing more than the homosexual agenda, or the too many gay people in this book. There's like liberal
Yeah.
porn. They hate the Second Amendment and Christians, and I'm
You're
like,
like, well, damn, they caught
what the
me.
hell are you talking about?
yeah.
Bad reviews are my marketing tool. I
Yeah.
make my own.
You do it so well too. Like your marketing is so tongue in cheek and so self aware, and I get a kick out of your Twitter feed.
That's
Yeah.
all Twitter's good for, is these one-liners nowadays. And luckily, that's just my bag.
I think this is such an interesting group to ask that question to, though, because almost everyone lives in this liminal space of being a reviewer and an author. You know, I
Yeah.
myself, and I know Steve as well, we might be the only ones here who don't occupy both of those spaces. We're both strictly on the review side. And then if you go to like larger booktube, a lot of those people don't deal with indie. So there's that personal connection, that feeling that we're discussing or being aware of it. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
have that. So it's so interesting to be on booktube, because I'm kind of, I started more on just the reviewer space and those bigger kind of channels that don't deal with indie. So I'm still there, but I'm also
Yeah.
here now.
Right.
So I like hearing how the two different conversations happen. It's interesting.
I want to speak a little bit to the experience of being an author and also a blogger, judging Spiffbo, because that was what happened with some
Yeah.
of us this
heartbreaking
year.
Yeah.
for me.
So writing a cut. First of all, when I write a review for the blog, I always try to include the things that didn't work for me and explanation of why. Sometimes if I'm writing something on Goodreads, just like I don't have time to write a full review, I'll just write a short thing that's mostly just like positive, and I don't necessarily include the things that didn't work for me. But if I write a full review for the blog, I try to be a little more detailed, including some things that might be a little more negative. But anyway, when it comes to Spiffbo, especially with a cut, you felt like you had to explain,
Yeah,
like,
you
well, this
had to
is
at
why
least
we had to cut it,
Justify.
and what didn't
Yeah.
work for me. And I was like, I'm going to say some things that are going to hurt somebody's feelings, and
Really hard.
it might be wrong. I mean, in the sense that this is what my experience of this book was, but I'm sure that other people will not have it. So I tried very hard to say, if you like X and Y, you're going to love this book. I didn't like Z in this book, so if you don't like Z, then maybe like it's not going to work for you. I don't know. And what I noticed is that after each cut review, there was bloggers who came and like, wow, this sounds like just a book for me, and they would they would talk about it, and I feel like I helped to sell the author books, even though there were some things about it that didn't work for me. And so like that's the goal of Spiffbo, right? Is to raise the visibility of books and find readers for books they might not otherwise have heard of. But it was very hard. But in the end, I felt like it worked out okay. Like nobody was like, "Oh my God, you cut me, you dick." They were all like, "Oh, thank you so much for the review. Like you should do," and it was all good.
Well, listen, Dan and I back channel agonized over some of, because we had several books that we both read.
Oh,
and
and
we agonized over some of them, like and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel so bad. We did a lot of this like pearl clutching would feel so
It's
bad.
because
Not
we
pearl
had
clutching in a bad way.
so many good books.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
so many good books. Like they were none of them were books you
that
wanted
was
to cut.
really
No.
that was really hard for me. Like, Whitney, you were the one that read Envy twice, weren't you? Like, because that book was so charming. That book,
it was just so fun.
It's just
so effortless in its in the humor. Like humor's hard.
Yes,
I really admire it.
I said those lines out loud. I delivered those and kept like tried to imprint them on my brain so I could use them in real life.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
This is from a perspective as an indie author rather than an indie reviewer there. But one thing you should definitely take heed of is a rising tide lifts all boats, especially in the indie market there. the only way you're going to succeed there's with rare 1 in a million chances is if you're working with your fellow indie authors there to get to all your markets there. The thing about indie authors is you don't buy one book and stop. Indie readers.
Right.
Their dedicated readers are going to read like 5, 10, or many books there as they can. They're at least as they can afford. And you can definitely appeal to their fan base, and they can appeal to yours, and everyone wins there. And this is why you should keep good contact with your fellow authors. And one good turn can do enough. Some authors, I sadly do plenty of favors for, who don't seem to quite get that, and it hurts them in the long run.
I think also, like, as respect for the space grows, so too does our readership burst out of its the boundaries. And we see that even in the short time that I've been here, it feels like the public perception of what it means to be self-published or indie has started to shift to more in line with indie music than and so like it right. And so it's a space that people go to find new stuff rather than a space that was as soon as a couple of years ago really deeply disrespected, which has been really amazing to watch from the inside. Just it feels like people have put in a lot of fight to get that respect. Some warriors in the community have been fighting for a really long time so that we can be here and talk about how awesome indie is.
And definitely a shout out to people like Beth who have helped make that happen. So kudos to Beth for that. As well, I really noticed it in terms of, and no disrespect to my traditionally published authors friend, of which we all have, but I see now more, it's like when it first came to social media was like the indie authors kind of congregated together, and there was a couple of traditionally published authors that just we're all authors and they act like that. But now I see more and more traditionally published authors congregating.
There's more people jumping back and forth between the two options, and then there's more friendships between the two, especially as podcasters are blowing up. They'll invite people onto panels from both kind of indiscriminately, and so from any given panel there'll be a whole assembly of different experiences, which has been really cool to watch and be a part of.
It's
and also
so shout out to these podcasters.
Shout out to Steve and Taylor, especially
Hey,
to Steve and Taylor for what they do, and they
is also yours.
It's especially fun when you actually meet an author that you read and are a fan of there, and you become kind of associates and friends there, and there's a certain level of respect there. One of the coolest things that happened to me, as I said 5 or 6 years ago, is I became pretty good friends with Richard Knack, who is the author of some Dragonlance and World of Warcraft books and so on there. And it's like whenever we talked, I was playing it cool, and I kept on trying to like, when am I going to blow up and reveal that I used to read you when I was 14?
Did you?
Yes, I did. That was the whole point. There is I was being like, oh, Richard Knack. There, as I said, I wonder if it's the Richard Knack. And I'm like, wait, how many other Richard Knacks are in the internet? But that's a thing that a lot of us can relate to. As I said, we're all authors now. We're becoming more aware of the frustrations of the industry, so to speak. There's a lot of traditional publishers have dipped their toes more into the indie self-published market. They're not just because they have their own fandoms there, but a lot of the practices have been kind of crooked too. And unfortunately, as an indie author, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is not going to be about how to write, but sadly, trust no one. unless you get someone to vouch for any service or editor or publisher or advertising group, then do not use them. Just ignore them. There are way too many crooks out there, and indie authors are vulnerable.
There's a lot of predatory stuff.
Yeah,
I have to bow out.
That's
of
another
the
reason
chat.
for authors there to help one another, because
otherwise
okay.
My brain is crashing. But thank you very much for having me on. And
We love you, Dan.
We'll see you all.
Nice to see you again.
Around
You're
the
awesome,
sphere.
Dan. So
I'm
nice
about
to
to
see
leave
you.
myself there.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's awesome.
All right,
You're great.
Bye.
Bye, Dan.
Bye.
So I've been starting to do lots of interviews, and in the beginning, when I was doing the interviews, I was completely spellbound. Like, these are authors I've been reading my whole life. Oh my God. But I think I've taken it that they're just people doing stuff.
Yep.
They're just cool people doing stuff. You know?
Yeah,
We're
it's
all
great.
just people
They're
doing
all just people doing stuff.
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
more than others.
No more than others.
More stuff
Which
than
one?
others.
Which are you? Yeah.
I'm not doing
Oh, yeah.
anything.
I love the indie music and indie publishing comparison there. That's a great thing there. Now I can pretend that it's all the cool hip thing to do now, be an indie author.
Yeah, it feels like it. I notice anytime some kind of music trend is going around and I try to participate, I realize how very indie I am because nobody ever knows what artists I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
So it spills into all genres for me.
It does. I'm the same way. Like Spotify has been really, really
Oh yeah.
big for me because it's introduced me to so many different singers and stuff.
I think it's easy to forget how insular, well, I mean, not just the book community, music community as well, if you're into indie music, but how insular the book community is, because we'll get someone on page tuning and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm really excited. And my parents are like, great, who the hell is that? Like, I'm happy for you, but I can't share in your excitement. And I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah,
So
I get that
my
with my
husband is
family,
always
too.
like, he's like, give me a celebrity that matches the rank of this person in the book world, so I can imagine how excited I should be for you. You know, like,
I like that he's meeting you in a context that he can understand. That's
he's like, is this Beyonce?
Well.
Is this Rihanna? Like, who are we talking here? You know,
I will use that next time when I'm talking to my family because I'm like, I'm interviewing this person. They're like, that's cool.
It's good to have a
I don't
conversion.
understand.
the Beyonce of the book world. You know?
Oh yes.
The assignment is that we need to figure out celebrity equivalents for everybody. So.
Oh yes.
And it almost feels disingenuous. You're trying to say, okay, well, this person is more important than this. But at the same time, I guess technically those kind of markers are attached to certain people, right?
I wouldn't be helpful for that anyway because all I know is the indie scene in every art form.
So, is Stephen King Beyonce? Is that like the go across?
I would say maybe.
Yeah.
So we would need someone like
he's like a Cary Grant. Cary Grant was still alive.
He's the Rolling Stones kind of guy of that point there. We do the decade there, so we need an author from the 90s.
Okay.
Scale all the way down to Gary Busey.
I call Gary Busey. No one can touch
maybe if you talk about, I would say maybe Mass or someone on that level might be like Sarah J. Maas, or even because it's not in the fantasy group, but Colleen Hoover, if you look at her reach,
oh yes,
she's absolutely everywhere. I haven't read any of her work, but
Brandon Sanderson would be the Ed Sheeran.
Sanderson is I think Brandon Sanderson he's in his own little category, based on what he does. He's kind of.
I got to say that Brandon Sanderson has achieved a level of notoriety that very few other authors are. That someone felt the need to write an entire magazine article about how much he sucks just because he's so popular. We should all be that lucky.
But then you have writers like George R. R. Martin, because of a lot of not even his books, because of the show, he is like a household name. Right, because of all of his shows, he's a household name, and there's not a lot of fancy writers that are household names. Most people have heard of Game of Thrones. Even if you have no involvement whatsoever with fantasy, you heard of it, and that's his. So
Witcher too.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that came from.
I was a fan before it was cool.
Well, the video game was probably bigger than the show. The video game was huge.
The video game was bigger than the books.
Yeah, and bigger than books, and he didn't make a lot of money unfortunately from certainly the TV show, but I don't know about the books, but. Yeah, it's funny but in the indie world, we all know those big names, the Michael R. Fletchers and the Rob Hayes, and we know all these names, right? So
Mhm.
Because we're
It's
not
also
listening.
because they're so productive too. Like Bengali,
Yeah.
that book's at a crazy pace.
Yeah.
And same thing with Fletcher and
Well, CT puts out a heck of a lot of books.
yeah, him too.
You know, CT.
Well, I benefited from the fact I tend to write short little books there, not the big 800 door stoppers that, are the point. And sometimes my books get put out a little too quickly there, as I said, because as an indie author, I also suggest you pace yourself and leave time for marketing before you get on to the next one.
Yeah. Well, that said, I mean, most people have heard of Crystal, CT, and GM in the circles I roll in. They've all.
Oh, well, that's great.
They've all.
GM, stop making faces.
And
too.
hey, your books is I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you too.
binge your books next. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, GM's
I'm kind of
modest.
Yeah, you're
curious.
making
He was an SBFSC finalist. He's a
Oh, yeah.
modest guy, but
Space Bow.
Space Bow.
Space Bow.
Space Space.
Space.
Space. I like Space Space.
Space.
It is forever known as it's Space Bow for me.
Yeah.
It's fun in it, though.
So,
I'm kind of curious, since we have so many, indie authors here, what you think about Kickstarter and the role it's starting to play in the indie space. Because as someone who pretty things are my kryptonite, that's what I spend money on. If a book is pretty, I'm like, ooh, even if I haven't read it. And so Kickstarter is full of all the pretty things now, especially for indie.
I go with the very simple, short and sweet. Nice money if you can get it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you have to be careful with Kickstarter math and make sure you're actually leaving room for profit. Although that being said, the two that I was a part of were kind of blew me away as far as how there seems to be an audience specifically on Kickstarter that we're not aware of while we're on Twitter and our respective markets. And then as soon as we make the jump into Kickstarter, there seems to be people that are on that platform specifically looking for books that they want. So you have to be mindful of your math, but if you can, if you've got the management skills for it, I think it's going to be an amazing platform. And like Zach Argyle funded in 18 minutes this week. So it's a platform that's going to make production values accessible to us, which is so exciting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a thing there to note about Kickstarter is, we hear about the successes, but also to be very aware of the ones that don't make their success there, or and also to let the buyer beware. It's not a solution for the high production values required for a lot of things there, but it can be very helpful to those who actually know how to pull it off and succeed and get out the word. I know a couple of authors I've worked with there that run very successful comic books for 10, 12 issues, entirely funded by Kickstarter for every issue, and it worked out for them. Never otherwise would be able to do it. But I also know people that did have big plans for Kickstarter there, and they just $1-2 shy, and the whole thing became.
That's got a sting, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really close. But I think that Zach's. What am I going to say? Zach's strength is that he had his trilogy finished, and kind of he had market proof that it was popular. And then so when he shifted into Kickstarter, I think it's an omnibus, isn't it? For all
it's an omnibus. But then Zach also does so many fantastic things in the community. He's philanthropic things.
We love
him. Right? So he just, I mean, if you're someone who, but I guess having the popularity is huge and the notoriety of your series. But I also think, let's face facts. We're all indie authors, and there's some things that we're naturally good at, and there's some things we have to learn. And some people are naturally better at running a Kickstarter than others. So I think that's something to I think to CT's point that if you're going to do this, you need to do your homework, And there's a lot of work that goes into doing a Kickstarter. And I think, say, for example, if you're like Crystal, you've been part of anthologies, if you have people on your team that are really good with that stuff, let them do it. You know what I mean? Like help them, but let them take the lead.
Holly.
Like
Holly.
people the Holly, get your Holly
And,
Tinsley's and your Virginia McLean's.
Virginia, I was only like peripherally involved in the Alchemy of Sorrow. Like I was the pinch hitter for occasional help, but Virginia and Intasar were absolute powerhouses handling that, and I feel like just watching them deal with it, I learned a lot about it. It's don't be fooled, it's a lot of work. I'm sure Zach Argyle in his 18 minutes, that was a lot of work. But if you have the outgoing personality for it, I think it's a star maker for sure.
Adrian is super good at Kickstarter.
Yes,
Adrian is the owner of GDM.
Yeah.
He's
okay.
Super good.
I was thinking of the wrong Adrian.
Yeah, he's super good at Kickstarters. That's actually part of the reason why we split GDM up a little bit, and I took over doing the magazine because I loved doing the magazine. I had done some guest issues where I created like the experience, the theme of the issue, and enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. That's another level I was going to comment on there, and praise to you, Beth. There, indie markets for books have been very strongly helped by taking advantage of social media to create their own independent publications. Their Grimdark magazine is a thing I see on the backs of books now, citing as like, this is a great book, Grimdark magazine, and that's about how their influence for indie. Social media has been good. You are the people involved are actually wielding disproportionate influence for how I at least consider ourselves there, and I see that for Before We Go blog as well. There, it's a place that I know a lot of people do check out and have important things inside there, and it's not always immediately visible because you only get 5 however many rate views on the main book there, but you have the page articles reprinted on things like Reddit and so on there, and hundreds of thousands of people could read that there. Has to be republished on the hellscape that is Reddit, which is only a slightly higher level of hellscape than Twitter.
I will not. I can't do Reddit. It's way too stressful. Oh my God, it stresses me out so much. There's such mean people.
Yeah, Reddit. I check on there once in a while, but I can't. I'm already social media tapped out, but as it is,
I definitely love that Reddit can provide me many extra sales there if I do it properly there. But it's like working one of those traps in Indiana Jones there. The penitent man is humble, kneels before the.
So just really quickly wanted to give a big thanks to John Palladino. Thank you, John. That's very generous. Thank you so much. You didn't have to do that.
Thank you very much,
John. But really appreciate it. And also, Whitney, I believe you have another commitment that we have to let you go.
Yeah, I'm really tired. I'm sorry. That's so lame. But thank you all for letting me join in, and I'll be sure to catch the finale of this episode tomorrow. You guys get done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thanks, guys. It was nice to see. Nice to put like real faces to real names. It's awesome, right?
No, I'm just an actor.
How do you know these are real faces?
You're just an actor. Okay.
The real Charles is an AI algorithm.
You're all dramatizations of yourselves. Great. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Good night, Whitney. Take care.
Bye.
I was saying one of the cool parts about being involved in both and Before We Go is that they operate in different spheres. Like, you've got the readers that read heavy grimdark and they read a certain kind of book, and then you've got a bigger type of reader for Before We Go, and they kind of like a Venn diagram. And so, like I can post over there and then a week later post on Before We Go, and it's double the coverage. It's reaching more folks. And that has always been, CT's done that too. Jody's done that where she's posted over there, and then, a couple weeks later, as it's died down a little bit, posted over on Before We Go, and it's worked out great because it's not the same audience.
One thing that I really admire.
Rachel, sorry, I was just going to respond to a comment. Rachel, you just got to team up with somebody who's got the personality. You've got to find somebody that's got the drive and then work together.
You have to get adopted by an extrovert, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Big shout out, especially to. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I was just say, Rachel, you're welcome anytime. So let me know if you want to come on.
There you go. Yeah, I was saying big shout out to Beth too. And one thing that I really admire what Beth does is she encourages us to have different reviews from different bloggers on the same book.
Yeah.
And I think that's unique within from what I've seen within the blogging sphere, and I think it really works because I've seen some fantastic reviews on the same book by different people in our blog, and it's just like wow, it's like you're learning things about the book you didn't see in the first review, and vice versa. So yeah, I think it's awesome.
Different perspectives. I think different.
Yeah, well, and I think also like people's memories, especially on a place like Twitter, people's memories are really short. So seeing 2 reviews of the same book, like that's not a bad thing. That convinces them to check it out, especially if they see something they like.
We have 6 reviews for some books and 7 reviews from other books, and our entire team has reviewed other books, and I think that's great.
Oh yeah, I love reading multiple reviews of a single book there, especially from the same site, because you get a base start that's similar, but everyone has different things they like or dislike about that whole thing. And
yeah, you get a rounder impression of what you might expect. I'm really glad it worked out for him. I think he'll end up with the same cover artist that did Thomas Howard Riley's covers, so we can expect some amazing things.
I haven't seen him around.
Buzzard Bowl looks so good. Thomas Howard Riley?
Yeah, he
just had a baby.
Yeah, he just had a baby, right?
So,
how dare he?
I know. He should be paying more attention to us.
He's very entertaining. How dare he?
Yeah.
This has been really great, guys. This has been a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this, chatting with the team
all week.
Yeah, it was really, really wonderful. And I wasn't nervous, which was totally different than normal.
Oh yeah.
I hate to
you
circle
are
back,
our rock there. We are all light flows from your tower.
Nervous tower.
I hate to circle back to this again, but I really want to hear GM's pot story.
Yes.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, it's very similar. It's very, very similar to CT's. It's almost identical. But okay, so here goes. I was invited to a bachelor party upstate. It wasn't a wild party. We were just a group of friends hanging out at a house upstate in New York. We were in Rochester, just outside Rochester. So when everybody got there, one of the guys who flew in from Colorado bought a bunch of like weed gummies and stuff, and he told everybody, "Hey, these are like Starburst. They look like Starburst sour gummies, but they're weed gummies. If you guys want some, just let me know. It's fine." And he told everybody, and that was that. I came a day late because I was on a work trip, so I flew from like Dublin and took like an extra day. So I got there a day late after the explanation had been given. And the one thing you should know about me is that I really like sour gummy shit.
Oh
no!
A bag full of Starburst sour gummies, and I was like, "This is fantastic. This is my jam. I'll just have there's only a couple. I'll just have one." And so I ate one, and then I was like, "No, I can't just have one. I need to eat I think I ate about 4 or 5. Eventually, I was told that you were supposed to eat maybe half of one. So I 4 or 5. So time goes by, and I'm feeling a little weird, so I just like, okay, I'm just gonna go take a nap. And I ended up clutching the bedpost for dear life and sort of spiraling into anxious paranoia for like
Oh yes.
6 hours.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't like figured it out, something told me halfway through my psychosis, like maybe the gummies were not the good kind of gummies.
Oh yeah.
But if I hadn't come to that realization, I would have literally lost my mind.
Oh yes.
I stayed in the bedroom for like 6 hours, and the way my friends tell it, they were like, they didn't notice for a while. They didn't notice for a while, and then someone asked, "Hey, has anybody seen Ganesh?" And they were like, "No, I think he went to take a nap." And then like 10, 15, 20 minutes later, the guy who brought the gummy said, "Hey, a couple of my gummies are missing. Did anybody eat them?" And they were like, "No, I don't think I did. Everything's fine." And then an hour later, they were like, "Hey, has anybody seen Ganesh?" And then again, and then like a sitcom, they were like, "Oh, no. Oh no."
Oh
So
yeah.
they had to come in and find me in distress. Which is lovely.
It was definitely a special treat there for me because of course it was my first experience with it all. There was like, why is everything vibrating?
Mine too, first and last. So that really there's no better anti-drug than a shitload of drugs.
Really?
Oh yes, I'm gonna say that your story was better than mine. Yes, much more oomph to it there.
Dramatic,
as I said, party.
It's very similar to my story because I had 3 cookies, right?
Oh.
And I'm a complete lightweight, and I had no idea what I was doing. We just bought a ton of cookies because it became legal here, you know, or it was in Portland. We bought a ton of cookies and it became legal in Portland, and so, you know, I ate one and didn't feel anything, ate another, you know.
Oh.
And then I'm like, wow, I am hungry. And so I go into the kitchen and I'm like eating shit out of the fridge, you know, hot sauce. And then I'm like, this is weird. And then I started spinning around. I couldn't figure out how to get out of the kitchen. It was a little kitchen. Okay. And then I started getting all paranoid. So I went and laid down and started hallucinating that I was a rat in Nim. You guys see that? That movie?
Are you sure you didn't actually become a rat?
You just unlocked a memory.
The memory, the dreams are real. It's projection.
Yeah, that was like 3 or 4 hours of me being locked in a cage as a rat of Nim, you know.
It's not pot, but it was, you know, it was university, so I tried some things, and it wasn't Nim, but I remember looking out the window and I saw, I don't know if you guys know Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, the Ghibli movie. I looked out the window and I saw the big giants from that, and I was like, I think something's kicking in because that can't be what I think it is. So. Yeah, it wasn't pot, but I've had something like that.
Well, now you need to tell us what it was. All of my accidental drug stories are also much heavier than just pot.
Yeah,
all of my stories are, I thought I was only smoking pot, and it turned out it was other things. Whoa. I feel so good telling that to PL.
Oh yes. In my wife's case, there, as I said, she's quite a good expert on recreational drug use. There, as I said, like, and I'm like, no, I don't think I like pot. And it's like, everyone loves pot, Charles. It's just one bad experience. Try it again. It's like, that's not how it works, Kat. No.
I'll be right back.
No, it's funny. I've never tried. Alcohol is my vice, but I've never actually tried marijuana, if you believe it or not, at my age. But
with your particular career, it's probably
honest. Yeah. I mean, I have colleagues that I know that that use it. So I mean, I'm not judging, man.
I guess it's
Alcohol
legal
is a
now.
drug. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alcohol is a drug. So I'm not. Believe me, I'm not being hypocritical. I like to drink. I like to drink a lot. So that's all good.
Yeah, me too.
It's all good.
I think it also goes with what goes with your body chemistry.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
I definitely tried pot many times thinking I would like it, but I'm very much like CT. It just doesn't.
It makes
You know,
it,
like where
it
I live,
makes me
it's
too
legal, but
tired.
it just doesn't.
Like, I probably had a different relationship with it when I was younger, but now at this point in my life, it's like if I wanted to take a nap, I would just go take a nap. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to smoke something to go lie down.
I have a funny story from recently.
Ooh,
My husband is a consumer of a lot of pot because he has narcolepsy, and it helps him get to sleep. You know, and he has something called the Starship, which is this, and he was all excited about it, and I'm like, oh, let me see it, and so I clicked it a couple times and I took a puff on it and then I kept dragging it through and his eyes just went from little to bigger to bigger to bigger. He's, oh my God, what have you done? And it's because it's 3 cartridges at once. I had no idea what I did. But I spent the next 12 hours in bed. I was
That's just a cute version of the story there.
Yeah. Just but not like ill, just unable to
I
get
think that officially makes it. We've talked more about drugs than we have about books on this.
I'd say it was a pretty good balance.
Yeah. I mean, pot's not that big of a deal.
Got to talk about something.
Steve talks drugs. That's your 3rd channel, Steve. You got books, you got movies.
And then Steve
There's gonna be like a collaboration channel between Whiskey and Books and Steve Talks.
Could
And
do
it just
that.
like
There we
slides
go.
You're onto something, Crystal. I like that.
Steve
And we'll
talks
just have to find
dot and books.
we'll have to just
Don't give
find
him
more,
ideas. He'll do it.
more books.
I'm
More
tapped
books
out,
with
yeah.
substances in them.
Did we mention Dune? Dune counts as books with substances in them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dune,
We
yeah.
Failed
No,
the
Dune,
test
true,
that we missed
true.
that one.
True. That's a good.
I'm excited about the second half of Dune coming out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
It's
Dune
very
is
fun.
like a whole lot of wind up to a great end, but you got to
Well,
get
that's
through
the thing
wind
there,
up.
because as a longtime Dune fan, there part of the really funny thing is almost all adaptions and people are talking about, they're only ever talking about the first book, and the second book and the third book, especially to a lesser extent at this point, completely changed the meaning of the first book.
Yeah, I didn't get that far.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to spoil anything for you there. It's just one of those things like where it'd be very interesting for them to ever adapt the sequels there, because
I think
it's
they're going
like,
to, actually. I think Denis Villeneuve is planning to do children and
Oh, really?
well, let's hope they're able to pull it off there, because I'd be very interested in because I can definitely. There's original story from Frank Herbert. Apparently, brought the book to his publisher. He says like, "Yeah, you need to cut this last third of the book out of the book." There, it's like, why is it too long? He says like, "No, because the book becomes incredibly fucking depressing otherwise." Well, if you just end it here, it's really uplifting and cool. I'll say no more on that end.
I'm a
What do you-
fake
do you think
SFF
it's-
fan. I haven't read or watched Dune, so
Oh,
I
yeah,
struggled through reading Dune, but I really liked the movie.
Yes, I
Yeah.
prefer the
Yeah,
David Lynch
I'm-
version because I just love it being absolutely off the wall insane.
I'm looking forward to the movie because Daddy Oscar.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Daddy Oscar. Who's your daddy?
I mean, Oscar Isaac. That's his name.
But he died.
I broke Steve again.
That's great.
You guys are cracking me up. What I wanted to know from the authors, what is everyone working on before we wrap up? You want to go first, Jim?
Oh, sure. I'm working on just taking a break. But I put out like my the first 3 books, the Duck and Dyer books, and now I'm taking a break. But I have several little projects going on in the background, all Duckett and Dyer related. Trying to work on a choose your own adventure that is still canon to the entire series somehow, and a alternate universe D&D version of a short story novella that also fits in the same universe. But I think the next big thing would be the 4th book, The Curse of Hitler's Tomb. But that's that might be a little ways off.
And that one has hot dogs.
Uh,
Are they cannibal hot dogs?
Do they dance?
They have to be.
They dance. They dance.
Are they enemies of the cannibal hamburgers? Or is this like
Well, the
or
hamburgers
allies?
aren't cannibals. They're not eating each other.
No, they
They
eat
eat humans.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
They're just
Cannibals.
normal hamburgers.
They're opportunistic feeders.
Yeah.
Oh yes. You know, I use that for she's making a reference to Were Deer, where I pointed out that deer will eat meat on that occasion.
Yes. That was a real fun book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so is Duckett and Dyer there, and you know, I actually have a little ditty in my head done when Tammy Wynette did a song with a KLF called Justified and Ancient there, that for whatever reason I'd made my own words to Duckett and Dyer, and I don't know why. Maybe it was during that period when I was under that blanket. I'll share that with you sometime. Okay, but
I have playlists for the books set up for.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I love the one you did for my Psycho Killers in Love, which is a comedy, romantic one. Yeah. What I'm currently working on is the next supervillainy saga book called The Fall of Supervillainy. I've managed to keep that book series going, and people still want to read it, and that's all. And that's really all I need to go justify writing a sequel.
I was concerned that the potentially controversial subject too. But now that I figured,
I almost did a false take on that comment.
Oh, yes.
I'm really sorry that I've shoved dancing hot dogs into Hitler's too.
Yes.
Now I have to write the hot dogs in.
Oh yes.
Like I said,
I'll figure it out.
There's a very funny thing there about my protagonist of my supervillainy saga called Gary Karkovsky, aka Merciless, the supervillain without mercy, trademark. And Gary has killed Hitler about 48 times because once he became a supervillain, that meant he had access to time travel. So of course he's going to use that to just go back and kill him. And since he's Jewish, he just makes it kind of hobby between things. Yeah, does it lead to breakaway parallel universes? Yes, but on the other hand, they're all better because he killed Hitler 48 times
in clever and unique ways.
Oh yes,
killing Hitler is the American dream.
Oh yeah. Yeah. His one of his girlfriends in the series Red Riding Hood, aka Cindy, is hilarious because she finds out and she's like, "God, why'd you take me along?" I finally actually got to do one of his Hitler tourism murders in a short story for an anthology called Tale of Capes and Cows, which is just like nonstop Wolfenstein jokes.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading the tale of Hitler's tomb. Yeah.
Yes.
Crystal, what do you after breaking bone?
Are the hot dogs the only dogs in the present, or will there be evil Nazi dogs that the good American dogs have to fight?
I can't spoil it for you.
Okay.
He hasn't brainstormed that
part
yet.
The hot dogs are vegetarians because Hitler was. I mean, like, there's so much we already even treated.
There's a lot to unpack. We don't have the time. Crystal, what are you working on?
You have to finish this now. You're more important than George R. R. Martin now.
You have 50 pages of meticulous notes.
Yes, Winds of Winter will be out any day now, of course, but this trumps us on the list.
Plot twist, they're cats. Wow. What were you saying, Crystal?
PL asked me what I was working on next, and actually, I'm working with Fletcher next. I'm going to take a break from the main series, and we're going to do like an ode to more classic historical fantasy, or not historical, heroic fantasy, but us. So we were working this morning on the magic system where, I wonder how much I'm allowed to say.
You won't get out. It's fine. You know.
Yeah, it's totally private. Troops are being like tattooed with magic tattoos that bind them more loyally to each other. So that's the magic system that we're
That's
focused
cool.
on. And so the book becomes a conversation between loyalty and guilt and how they play into each other. And so my character is a much older veteran who's been through some stuff, and his character's a lot younger, and my character's daughter, who comes chasing after him to save him from himself and the conflict that he's rushing towards because of all of that complicated feeling of loyalty and guilt. So I'm super psyched. We were just talking about it on a call this morning, trying to sort out exactly what our angle is, and that magic system came out of the conversation this morning. So that's what I'm working on next. And I've been told that I'm only allowed 50 or 60,000 words because we'd like to finish at about 120K. So that'll be my challenge. Right, a tiny
It sounds
little.
fascinating, though.
It does. It sounds
Sign me up.
Yeah, and my big influences for this, even though we're writing, early heroic fantasy, are veterans' memoirs from the Vietnam War, and because they talk about the guilt a lot in a way that you don't see as much from other historical pieces. So Tim O'Brien and Carl Marlantes, I don't know if anybody knows who I'm talking about, but they're really powerful writers. So that's where I'm coming from. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
What about you, PL? You're an author here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, status quo. I'm working on book 4 of the John Kingdom saga, which is entitled A Lion's Pride. And I guess you can expect that hopefully around the same time as all the other books in the series, which will be spring of 2024. A Lion's Pride should hit the street. So I got.
Yay, Steve.
Sorry, Pia.
No worries. No, that's basically it.
I am working on.
Here's my Carl Marlantes. I've scarred Connor by trying to get him to read Matterhorn. That's really cool that you also have it, Steve. It's rare for me to find people that in the science fiction and fantasy community who bleed into the other books that I read.
Well, I picked it up because you recommended it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you guys talked about it, so I bought it.
You're a huge Michael Pollan fan, right?
I am.
Yeah, you and I have that in common.
I've got him over there.
Yeah, me too.
This is your Mind on Plants was my favorite.
I'm a huge fan of him. I'm working on the next edition of GDM. It is going to be horror focused. The line between horror and grimdark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Since we just did science fiction, I'm doing horror now.
Hi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, CT.
Oh yes, I love. Any more grimdark from you is something I'll definitely put on my list. There, I've already just jumped into the next book immediately after finishing the first one. There, so you've got me hooked. I'm an addict. Put the grimdark in my veins.
I'm pretty excited. It's coming together. It's coming together really cool, really nice. It's going to feature a lot of women, which you don't tend to find a lot of women writing grimdark. Generally, it's usually a struggle to find. I mean, there are women who write grimdark, obviously, but
every woman I read the grimdark of, I tend to find it is the absolute grimmest of the grimdark.
Yes.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
also
the spark. That's the spark. That's
Yeah,
the spark, Steve.
my wife reads nothing but books that seem to consist of they're listed under romance there, but they're always like, oh, yes, the protagonist woman is kidnapped and turned into a slave, and she's rescued by a psychotic killer or a serial killer who hunts other serial killers. And it's like, yes, Dad, you certainly have a preference. And she's like, is this any clearer than what you said? I didn't say that. What do you read?
Anna Smith Spark. Yeah, Anna Smith Spark.
Sienna Frost. There's Holly Tinsley. There's
There
Anna Stevens?
absolutely are
Yeah.
writers, female writers who write grimdark, but if
Crystal
you were
Matar.
to balance them out, there is quite a few more men. It's been a real male-dominated genre of science fiction and fantasy for a long time, and it's changing. You're getting, BIPOC writers, and you're getting more women writing in it, but it's slow change.
I lucked out because a lot of my early most favorite authors in fantasy and sci-fi were female authors, so I never internalized that it was supposed to be like a dude genre, even though that was never the case. But that's the perception. Yeah, I think what really got me back into fantasy in the night was Laurel K. Hamilton, and she, at least her first 10 Nita Blade books before it became porn, were really dark urban fantasy horror novels, and so you get that kind of feeling. And Anne Rice, and as long as you're exposed to the right amount there, you don't develop these really stupid misapprehensions, in my opinion.
I made it to book 18. I made it to book 18. Yeah, and then
I met my wife on the Laurel K. Hamilton forum.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah, I made it to book 18, and then I was like, okay, I like.
You're much stronger than I was.
Even good smut.
My wife was much more is a much better connoisseur of it, and she's like, nope, this is IKEA smut.
Yeah. It's just it couldn't
slot
find
B
it.
Goes to slot A.
IKEA smut. You have to build it.
Yeah.
It annoys you.
If you build it, they will come.
Oh yes.
It falls apart easy.
Oh yeah.
This is where we need Dan back.
I needed my backup.
I'm afraid I have to get going myself there. But thank you very much for having me on this program. It was a wonderful conversation. I shared way too much personal information. Thank you.
That's what happens on here.
I did have a question really quickly about we talked earlier about social media and how that relates to sales. Is somebody who the algorithm on a place like Twitter favors for whatever reason, if they kind of just do the right things and catch the algorithm, does that necessarily mean that they're going to sell more books, or does that mean that they just get seen more?
I mean,
you're a good person to answer that question. You have a lot of followers.
I don't market anywhere else at this point. So, and I mean, it's my only notable platform, and both of my books right now are hanging in the top 20 in the military fantasy categories right now. So I would say yes. And I think it's just a constant exposure where you hit a certain amount of impressions where people are kind of laterally aware of you. Even if you never interact with them, people know your name for some reason. Even if you're, I rarely talk about books, and yet somehow, and now I'm gonna acknowledge that part of that is me being on Twitter, and the other part of it is people talking about me, and wrecking to other people. But I'm only on Twitter. That's all I've got, and this is what my personality has gotten for me. So yes, it can be a tool. Certainly it shouldn't be someone's only tool, because I need to pivot into bigger platforms. But if your personality fits, and if you're comfortable there, it's a great way to start building connections and a platform, and just kind of an awareness of how to talk about your book in a way that people want to engage with.
I can't imagine trying to build up another platform. I I love to. I love the community. I don't like Twitter. I think Twitter has become kind of a dumpster fire and a train wreck. But I love the community, and I can't imagine trying to do that with like TikTok or Instagram. Instagram baffles me.
No,
Here's a pretty picture of my book.
I can't do visual things of any kind, pictures, videos. That I can't generate that kind of content, but I can generate a 100 to 280 character joke and toss it up on Twitter and get engagement. I'm not getting crystal level ratings, but it's the only thing that that actually seems to move my books is just being on Twitter and making stupid jokes.
Yeah,
I
Well, I'm
think it's
curious.
about. Sorry.
No, we all just talked at the same time. Go ahead.
I think it's about finding a platform that works for your skills,
Exactly.
and then
Exactly.
figuring out where that meeting is and just pushing it.
That's
Exactly.
what Twitter is for me, which is
Yeah.
it's why it's such a shame that it sucks now and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire.
I still have some optimism about Twitter, but yeah, I'm the same way. Like Twitter is my preferred platform, and it's where I certainly have the most followers out of any social media platform I'm on, compared to like Instagram or Facebook. And I think that with Twitter, yeah, definitely, I think I've gotten a lot of my, frankly, exposure from Twitter, and I'm too invested to turn back now. Although I don't like some of the things that have happened, but I mean, I think I'm old enough. I feel I'm old enough to think, like this too shall pass. Like, Twitter could change hands 5 times in the next 20 years, and different things could happen. So I mean,
I'm kind of the same mind where it's like either it'll sink or it won't, and either way, if it disappears forever, then I guess they got to find somewhere else to be. But if not, it's my dumpster fire.
Yeah, exactly. It's my, and I don't think it's gonna disappear. And I just think that, like you said, I'm so comfortable there. That's my jam. And I wouldn't, doing something else. Like a lot of people who left and went to other platforms, some of them have enjoyed other platforms and stayed, and some have come back because they're like, I haven't found anything else to replace it, right? So.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick around. I will still look for if other replacements pop up that start to gain traction. Maybe I'll try those out.
Sure.
But I'll probably just stick on Twitter until it burns down to the ground.
Yeah, you did me.
I'm not paying $8.
No, I'm
paying $0.
It's weird. Like I would very much appreciate being able to write longer tweets and to be able to edit them. That's something I would really like, but there's kind of a stigma with the blue check mark right now anyway. So I'm just puttering along. It's I get engagement on a post. That's really cool. I'm happy.
I know we're really far here and we have to go soon, but one more question to go off of that is just Ryan mentioned that I recently saw a tweet. Let me contextualize this for you guys. You're not in my head. You don't know what I was thinking. So I recently saw a tweet from Ryan Cahill, who he shared his website and said this has been really useful as a hub to send people to the entire time. So obviously he's using that in conjunction with Twitter.
Yeah.
Like he's using Twitter to send people there. But I'm curious if you see, and I know PL, you have a website as well that's like your hub. Do you guys see benefits to having something like that? Or is it better to just like mainline to Amazon and not have the stop off at your own website?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of us use Linktree, and we have all of our, especially if you're in like, okay, well, say you are someone like Philip Chase, who's a pretty big booktuber and has, now is writing books that are selling well, and other things. Like I think, although Twitter now prohibits you especially if you're gonna be, if you want to get the pay the blue check mark and all that stuff, that you can't have that on there. But I think for me, I tweet directly about like writing books, my books, other people's books, I just put it straight there. And I may have a link to my Amazon or my website or my Goodreads, etc. But I kind of like go direct with whatever medium I'm on. Like from an Instagram, I'll say, well, this is where the book is if you're interested.
Mhm.
Or do you know what I mean? Like I kind of go direct that way. I if I'm referring someone to my websites for something specific, like say my blog, right? That's what I would more do. And that's just me. That's just how I do it. It doesn't mean it's good, bad, or different. It's
Yeah,
so.
I'm kind of in the same camp as you, where it's like Twitter's the space where Twitter's like the bar where I go to hang out.
Yeah.
But I just updated my website to include like the high resolution maps, and I did a character list of all the named characters in Brightwash for people jumping back in. And so I think it's a good touch point for people who are actually engaging with you for the content that you're creating. And I think Ryan is so much more professional than me, so I probably should be listening to what he has to say. It's just like an energy spend. It's like, how much energy do you have in the day, and where are you going to get the most ROI, really? And for some reason, Twitter's the place where I get a decent ROI on the stupidest possible things that I could commit to a public platform, and yet somehow that's the stuff that really hits. So
I think that when authors have a updated website, it's extremely helpful. If I'm interviewing an author,
maybe we should be asking readers.
if I interview an author and I'm trying to, understand who they are outside of writing, because I'm trying to get a context. Information that they put on their website gives me a chance to ask questions that are outside of what's your favorite book and who is your influences. It gives me a chance to connect with them on a different level. And you can do that with social media and stuff, but it's a lot more difficult.
It's faster.
It's much faster if you look at a website. Oh God, what is his name? I just interviewed him. Combat Trials.
Combat Codes.
Alexander Darwin.
Yeah.
I just interviewed him for a few months ago.
I have to remember that I'm a blogger, and I could ask you to.
Yes, you can.
With all these people I have a crush on.
He's adorable, by the way. He had a lot of information about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And
his marketing has been so on point. Speaking of TikTok and other platforms, like his videos are so funny, with the forcing a submission and now you have to buy my book. I don't know if anyone else has seen those.
No, but I'm totally
knows what I'm talking about. He's so funny.
It was really helpful because I could ask him questions as a person, like a person talking to another person. And I asked him, writing fight scenes. How did he approach writing a fight scene? How did he feel about martial arts as a big part of his life, and what does he use martial arts? And then we got into a long discussion about play, and everybody plays, and how he just believes that practicing martial art is basically playing. You're playing. And it was really cool, but I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't be able to have that conversation unless I had access to information like that. It doesn't have to be super long, but it just has to be something outside of the standard questions. It's just something to give insight into you as an author. It's very
good to know. All of us authors should be taking notes.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to ask what your guys' opinion was, because I agree with Beth. Whatever we prepare for a page chewing episode or whatever, if immediately looking for that website, because it gives, even like Beth just said, one sentence here and you're like, oh, that's 10 questions. I get 10 questions from that one sentence.
So obviously we should be asking you.
Yeah, because I've had zero success with my website. Twitter, again, like Crystal said, is where I
Yeah.
can put out content that gets reactions and responses and gets people interested in my book. But if I post something that links to my website, even if it's free content that costs $0, those are among my least clicked links or looked at tweets. So I don't. I get very little traction from all the stuff on my website.
I wonder if there's more back end traction though that you're not seeing of people.
Yeah.
That's
It
hard.
makes
Yeah.
it really hard.
Ganesh,
for us.
I know that you used to have a series with your mom where you showed her.
Oh well, that was different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know that because I read your website. Because you talked about that, and I wouldn't have known about that otherwise.
That,
So, I mean,
I think that may have been the exception. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the exception, not the rule. That was a while ago.
Yeah, I think you can really buff up. Like, website, I do 6 elemental interviews, right?
I love your
That's-
interviews.
Yeah, I
They're
think
great.
the interviews are a really great
Yeah.
platform. Yeah.
I got to boost other
like
authors, and thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But I think, it has to be some value added, I think, now with websites to get the traction. Like, it can't be just,
Yeah.
here's my book and here's a pretty picture. And
Right. Of
but you can
course.
get that off Amazon. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
you have to augment it with other stuff. So
Right. And on my website, I have other short stories, free stuff, just people can read for whatever. I did something like the Make Mom Marvel, a different sort of column that also didn't get any traction, where it's people ask me science fiction related questions and I try to approximate the answers using actual math and science. And that never
That's
really took off. But
I'm trying to get you to do the column of like the Tinder profile.
oh, the Tinder profile.
Oh,
The
yeah.
characters and
I've
books.
been thinking about that for a long time, and
We need that,
That
I
would
need
be
to figure
so
it out.
amazing.
especially with Dan and on the team now. You,
Oh my
you need to
God,
make
that'd
this happen.
Yeah, that'd be so great.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but also, coming what Beth and I said, we're giving feedback as interviewers who probably have already read some of the books, right? So I think
Yeah.
sales and information, they're two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be long paragraphs,
Uh-oh.
just information. Like, I could ask Crystal about Michael Pollan. I could ask her about whiskey. I could ask, there's lots of
should
things I could
post
ask if I have access to the information, and then that creates a connection with the author that would make people read, would make the author stand out of a crowd. At least that's how I look at it, and that's how I use the author websites.
That's good insight. That helps us, because I think my biggest part is the paralysis of what is helpful. what can I say? But yeah, Daniel just said maps, and I just put my maps on my website. So there you go. I've done one thing right.
Yeah. I've put maps in reviews. If it's a really
cool.
beautiful map, I put maps and reviews and stuff
Yeah.
instead of just like the cover. If there's a bit of beautiful graphic or something associated with it, just access to information and what you can do with it.
I wonder how much of having your own website is the investment invested in your website and options for readers to contact you directly, quickly and easily, and to get a response fast. Because if they can contact you on your website and get a direct one-on-one, then are they more likely to go to Twitter or another platform to try and contact you that way, or try to squeeze in your DMs just to tell you, hey, I loved your book?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's I guess it's where do you want to spend your time too.
Yeah.
I've done that too.
One.
I've done that too, like because my website's linked, like it goes straight to my email. So if you're interested in like author site copies, or you're interested in, say you want to contact me for an interview or something, I've gotten through my website. I've got a lot of those kind of emails. So yeah, I mean, it can work. But listen, I have to run too. I apologize, guys.
Yeah, we can wrap up, but before we go, GM, can you tell us where people can find
Before
you?
we go.
Yeah, before we go, yeah.
I get it.
Before we go. Before they go.
Before we all go.
I'm so sorry about the name of the website, guys.
It's an awesome name.
We use it all the time. Yeah.
It's an awesome name.
Yeah.
Hey, it works now. It's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to say? What?
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Oh,
Where's the best
Okay,
place?
so if you do want to
Twitter.
go to my website, it's ds-df.com. You can find me on Twitter where I'm just farting around. That's at Ganesh Nair, GANESHNAIR. Or you can buy my books. Definitely Dire Fix for Hire, the sequel, The 100% Solution, and the third one, The Mystery of the Murdered Guy. And whenever The Curse of Hitler's Tomb comes out, I'll let
And
you know.
hot dogs. And hot dogs.
And hot
Hot dogs.
Now I have to figure that out now.
No, you get hot dogs. It's
You got homework for
My
this
hot
one.
dog.
Yeah, this is my
Like
curse.
a hot dog.
You'll have to subvert the hot dogs somehow. Everyone's expecting
Oh,
them to be
I
cannibal hot
fully
dogs,
intend
but-
to. Fully intend to. I can't let this stand.
Yeah.
And Taylor, where's the best place to find you?
On my booktube channel, Made Between the Pages, which is written right here. I also host page chewing on my channel as well, so you can see me beside PL and Steve quite often, here or over there. But I also like to mention that Steve and I both have a playlist of all of the episodes, so you can watch all of them in one
All
place.
the shenanigans.
All the
Yeah.
shenanigans, yes.
Yeah.
You can also find me, of course, on Before We Go blog. And I do more official reviews on Before We Go blog, but I also do write something for almost everything that I read on Goodreads. So if you just want to hear quick thoughts about books I don't write a full review for, you can also find me on Goodreads. And I'm on Twitter. As everyone here has talked about, I am still on the sinking ship that is Twitter, so you can find me there talking about books. And all of those links are always in the descriptions of my videos. So really the booktube is the booktube. That was presumptuous of me. Booktube
You
is
are the book.
the place to go.
And Beth?
You can find me at beforewegoblog.com, where I do most of my reviewing. You can find me at grimdarkmagazine.com, where I do a lot of reviewing. Also, the editions of Grimdark Magazine, which is pretty exciting for me, and Twitter. I am at Beth Tabler, which is very clever. And that's where I do most of any sort of social media conversations and stuff.
And Crystal?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter a lot, an unhealthy amount. Just at Crystal Matar. I have the website with a map and a character list, and I don't know. I'll figure out what else to put on it, and it's just crystalmatar.com. I'm on Instagram, not consistently, but it's all under just my name because it's spelled strangely. So I'm really cashing in on that.
And congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And Mr. P.L., congratulations, P.L.
To
on
both
the
of you.
awards. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congrats on
Yeah, Twitter, like everybody else, Twitter at PL Stewart Writes. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, not as frequently, but yeah, it's all at PL Stewart Writes. Website's www.plstewart.com. Those are the books. And yeah, 2 books out now, A John Kingdom, now 3, A John Kingdom, The Last Atlanteans, and Lord and King, this bad boy just came out. It'll be on Amazon next Friday, but right now it's on Freeze and Press. Also, of course, Before Go blog, reviews there in Goodreads, and I pretty well review everything that I read, and I put it on Goodreads, and a lot of those will also find their way, thanks to Beth, on Before Go blog. And of course, beside my wonderful talented co-hosts, Taylor and Steve, on Page Chewing, where if you haven't been checking it out recently, we got some pretty amazing guests on there. The last 40 plus episodes. So, and hopefully many more in the future. So check it out.
Definitely, yeah. So thank you, everyone, thanks to all of you for coming by and hanging out and hanging on.
Buy a thread.
But so thanks to everyone for coming by in the comments, for interacting with us. It's always a great time. Thanks for Taylor for waking up early and hanging out with us. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for staying up late. And hope everyone
Thanks,
has
to her baby for staying where it belongs, so that she can stay
Yeah.
with us. The whole thing.
For now. For now.
Stay put for a little bit longer, but
Yeah. We'll see. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
I'm like worried for you. I'm like, oh, Taylor, it's getting close. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's enough worry over here, so
Yeah.
it's compounded.
well, we're all in your corner, so
Yeah,
remember,
for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to it. To the addition to the page chewing crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Looking
There
forward
we
to it,
go.
crew.
New host.
A new host.
But thanks everyone again. Thank you, John, for
Thank you.
the chat. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone. Hope you all have a great weekend. We will see you soon.